Jigs and Bigs is proud to announce we're being supported by Old Glory Outdoors. They're a veteran-owned company that carries fishing and hunting gear. Plus, they're highly active in supporting veteran organizations and charities. Old Glory is an authorized dealer of favorite rods, FX rods, Guggen baits, X-Zone lures, Sixth Sense, and many more. There's a brick-and-mortar store located in East Brookfield, Massachusetts, but you can also order online at oldgloryoutdoors.com. They ship anywhere in the lower 48 states or order online and pick up at the store. When you order, use the promo code Jigs and Bigs, and you'll save 10% off your complete order. Plus, you'll help support the show. Make sure to check out the apparel line called OGO Gear while you're there. Old Glory Outdoors believes in the slogan, "Start 'em young," to keep kids away from screens and enjoying nature. They've got a full array of live bait too. Check out oldgloryoutdoors.com and use the promo code Jigs and Bigs. Save some money and gear up now.
Our guys here from Jigs and Bigs are going to come back and suck on some chili cheese dogs in about a half hour. We'll stay tuned.
All right, everybody, it's Tuesday morning here at Jigs and Bigs. We're in studio, and we're doing something new. We're involving the JIGHEADS guys. What the hell's a JIGHEAD? Let me explain. JIGHEADS are those fans of this show for one reason or another that love it that much that they want to get as much of it as possible. They're members over at our page at Patreon, and what we're doing now is we're actually live streaming to an unlisted YouTube link where our JIGHEADS can view the recording session unedited as it happens and chime in, so you hear us reference them. If you're interested in doing this on your own, all you got to do is go over to jigsandbigs.com. There's a button right near our logo that says Become a Patron. Click on that button. It'll send you right over to our page. Create an account. First 100 members get a lifetime locked-in rate for $5 a month, and it gets you all kinds of good content, as well as being involved in the show, and as well as some other perks too. And once we build that audience up a bit more, we've got some good stuff happening too. Once we get over that 100 member mark, though, it's going to go even further than that. We're going to adjust the price and allow it open for anybody else who wants to get into it. We got a great show tonight. Rachel Walka is with us. We have an awesome interview. We're going to talk to her about some of her preferences with fishing, get a little bit of an idea of what it's like fishing in New Jersey. She's going to explain some of her favorites. We've got a lot of discussion with Sean the Fisherman this week. We talk about getting more in detail with some of the experience that we've had over at Three Bells Outfitters. We talk also about Joe over at Old Glory Outdoors having his first annual fishing derby just this last weekend, and it was a great time over there. Sean got some audio from it. We're going to be incorporating that into future shows, so go and get yourself a nice hot beverage, maybe something keep you warm. It is still February, guys. We got a few more weeks of winter left. Guys, we'll be back with more Jigs and Bigs right after this here. Yeah, that's what we do here on a Tuesday morning right here. We got a good one for you guys. It's Jigs and Bigs. It's Bobby Roast Beef. And, of course, I've got Sean the Fisherman. We actually, this morning, Sean, we even have more people with us that are involved in while the listening audience won't necessarily be able to hear them. We are streaming this right now on an unlisted YouTube feed to our Patreon members, our JIGHEADS. And they're able to make comments and jump in, and we can kind of bring all that into the conversation if it warrants it. But they get first crack at this show, you know?
Yeah, I should I be worried about my job security now that you've got several hundred co-hosts?
No, I don't think you have anything to worry about there.
Oh,
yeah, I think if anything, what we're doing, it's kind of like crowdsourcing. It's it's kind of nice, but yeah, I think you're always going to have a nice home here anyway. But
good.
Interesting morning, man. How was your weekend?
Very busy, a lot to cover. Man.
Yes.
We had a lot of fun this weekend.
That's awesome, man. I actually kind of hung low for all day yesterday. Was hanging out. My wife and I, my kids were dog sitting for my sister. So they were there overnight. So I was hanging out with Mrs. Beef, and we were, playing Skyrim and ordering takeout. I discovered a new amazing eatery that I think some of our Louisiana-based listeners would appreciate, or probably raise an eyebrow when I say this. I had the best gumbo I've ever had in my life. And I need to say this. I've never had gumbo proper in Louisiana, like ever, like authentic. But there's a Cajun spot that opened up in what used to just be this Greasy Spoon little diner. And my wife and I were trying to throw ideas around what to do for lunch. And she says, she's like, why don't we try this spot? And she's infinitely like choosier than I am when it comes to stuff that she likes. So I was like, well, look at the menu and let's see if it makes the grade. And it did. So I show up and there was even a guy in line there. He's like, you got yourself a lot of good food there, man. What's going on? And I said, well, we're trying it out. We gotta run it through the paces. So I went with crawfish etouffee, which is amazing. But even as amazing as it was probably my least favorite thing on there. And I'll say the gumbo was absolutely slapped. It was so good. And what else did I have? Oh, the fried oysters were just dynamite.
Nice.
Yeah, very, very good. So very pleased. And then, like I said, you got to plan for things to go wrong. I got up early this morning because the family said they wanted donuts this morning. I said, that sounds awesome because now I don't have to cook any crazy breakfast. So I got up early and I ran out to the staple Western Mass donut spot, Donut Dip. And we fueled up there. That's where, if you're on our Instagram, you can see the picture of the bacon maple donut that I had for breakfast this morning, which is amazing. And we got back and I figured, this is great. I've got so much time. I'll go and I'll get everything all set up. So I've got a nice, screen for when the jig heads are popping in and they have something to kind of like keep them entertained or like a placeholder while things populate. And I was so psyched about that. And what happens? I get down here and I've got my Summit View Sense candle going. No, I didn't start anything on fire. I got my space heater going. That was the problem. And I blew a fuse. Everything here. I'm talking my laptop went down, my lighting all went down, all this lighting, all of it. My router, I got my router plugged into that, my internet, everything just gone. So I had a moment where I was like, oh shit, what do I do? And I went back live and luckily StreamYard had everything right where it was supposed to be. I just disconnected. So, we live, we learn. It's all good. So I threw on my shirt and I'm like, okay, so I'm not going to run the heater. Okay, we're good.
Maybe we got to get you one of those blanket sweatshirts that have been making the rounds on TV lately.
Yeah, like a Snuggie, something like that.
Snuggie, yeah, we'll get you a Snuggie.
Maybe I wonder if I could get a Jigs and Bigs Snuggie. Guys, would you rock a Jigs and Bigs Snuggie? I mean, think about it. I think we maybe missed the boat this year for ice fishing, but we could put a tackle pocket in it. And like, oh, dude, little bait bag.
I will never wear a Snuggie. I'm sorry, I can't do it. I'd have to turn in my man card.
I love it.
I can't do it.
No, I think.
But that's all right. You're in a different situation in the cold disco dungeon, so you might need the Snuggie.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
You know what I mean? I'm thinking. I think there's an audience for that though. There is an audience there. Hey,
are you taking notes?
No, I'm not taking notes, but I do want to mention we have a couple of new jig heads, new like this week, found out this was going on and decided to jump on. We've got 2 new jig heads that are part of the family. I know who one of these guys is. Loaded Potato. He's a jig head though from early on, contributor of our of the fishing report and all that stuff. And then Jerry Howes also had jumped on to become a new early adopter over at Patreon and one of our jig heads. So thanks guys for jumping in there. Jerry left a comment on the post and he says he says, how we doing this morning? I think we're doing pretty good. I think we're doing pretty good, man. Let's go ahead. Oh God, we got some commentary on the Snuggie. Rodney jumps in and he says, I can't give up my man card for a Snuggie. I don't know, man. Rodney likes the tree stand a lot. Tell me that wouldn't be awesome, man. There's a lot of downtime.
Yep.
I'm just thinking effectiveness, We'll make it manly. We'll make it in real tree.
Real Tree does not make everything manly. I'm sorry, man. You can't do it. It's a Snuggie.
I don't know, man. I don't know. We got Cody. Cody jumps in. Mr. Beef from Maryland. Oh, from Maryland. You want to talk about good food, man. Some Maryland crab cakes. That sounds like a good idea. You wonder why I'm such a fat ass. Nobody's wondering why I'm such a fat ass. Everybody knows.
My wife received a Snuggie for Christmas just to keep this little thread going.
Okay. Let's do this.
And it's a really dark one. It's like it's like black and gray.
Yep.
And sometimes she comes down with it when she's got the hood on. I just look at her and shake my head. And for those of us who grew up in the 80s, remember Fraggle Rock, I call her Madam Trash Heap.
Madam Trash.
Which she does not appreciate.
That's even better. I was going with like a Grim Reaper kind of thing. Like, oh, hey, Death, like a Family Guy. But I like Madam Trash Heap even better.
Madam Trash
Heap.
Heap.
Dated. Oh, wow.
And my youngest has one too, and he's Trash Heap Jr. when he wears it.
Trash Heap Jr. Oh man, but no, it was a crazy kind of weekend. We had a lot of stuff going on locally. You had one hell of an adventure yesterday. Why don't you jump in and kind of share a little bit about how yesterday went for you?
Yeah, yesterday was fun. So part of the fun of just doing this whole podcast is obviously we get involved in the community with fishermen. And yesterday was a perfect example. And, I'll pull back the old beef curtain a little bit. You have more multimedia experience than I do. And I'm always asking, give me something new to learn. Let me help you out with this, that, or the other thing with the podcast.
Yep.
So yesterday was my first adventure with the portable recorder. So yesterday was Old Glory Outdoors first annual ice derby over at Quabog. And the turnout was phenomenal. Like that ice was packed. So we went down there, myself and Nelson. I brought Nelson. He was my what do we call it? What are we gonna call him? He was my assistant. He was my gopher. He was everything I needed. Yes,
he was your
Nelson
partner in crime. Who was your right hand man for everything you needed.
He was. Yeah.
Even
yesterday
when it came
we learned
to the new kitchen.
Oh, we'll get to that.
I know we will.
So we went down on the ice, and Nelson actually ended up being extremely valuable because I had a couple of bags of stuff with me. One had the recorder in it, the other had all the stickers and whatnot that we handed out. Jigs and Bigs stickers, a couple Old Glory ones. What else was in that bag you gave me?
Oh, there were some stickers. There was a power supply for the recorder itself, and the SD card for the recorder. I mean, that was we had Jigs and Bigs stickers, Old Glory, and there were a couple of Hookset Hoodlum stickers that were in there as well. Yeah,
Nelson kept the PBR,
nice,
the PBR mock or whatever, but what do you want to call it? The homage. So he kept that one. He's like, well, I earned this one. I'm like, yes, you did. So he was a sticker guy, but no, we went up and we interviewed a few groups. It didn't last too long because after a couple hours, the wind picked up, and walking on the 3 inches of snow that were still on the ice kind of gave my knee a good workout. So by 9 o'clock or whatever, I was like, I'm getting too sore. We got to wrap this up. And also it coincided with the wind picking up, which, unfortunately killed a couple of our recordings. So before I get into all the people we did talk to and have the recordings, and we're going to get them involved in the show, there were two groups, one from Westboro, who had an ion ice auger that I was fascinated with because I'd never actually seen one working before. And there was another group that was local to Brookfield. And the funny part about that was that group, I kind of led in with, hey, I'm Sean. This is Nelson. We're representing the Jigs and Bigs podcast. We'd like to talk to you. Old Glory's our sponsor.
Yep.
And, and I make a joke like, nothing incriminating. And then 2 minutes into this conversation with this guy, with the gentleman that was in this group from East Brookfield, I said, so where else do you fish? And just offhanded, I didn't think about it. He's like, I'm not telling you where I fish. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm an idiot. I'm not telling you my spots. I'm not blowing up my own spots. I'm like, well, I am so sorry I asked that. And then I made a joke like, hey, yeah, well, what lures are you using? What colors? What sizes? When exactly are you throwing them? But yeah, so those two groups, I apologize, but the weather did not cooperate with the recording.
Yep.
That recorder you gave me, we talked about it before we went on air. That thing's extremely sensitive. And even you were like, wow, the sound quality was perfect. But it picked up so much wind, even a slight wind. It was under 10 miles an hour, and it just sounded like a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah. In fact, that's got a couple of settings. One of the like field recording tricks is to take and EQ the lowest frequencies, like 80 to 100 hertz and below, and just cut them completely. Because what'll happen is you'll just get this really low rumble constant from all the wind. So that was already cutting it. And what you were experiencing beyond that, that was significant wind then.
Yeah. So yeah, it was fun. So the groups we did talk to, we had a lot of fun with, and we'll be sorting through those, and everybody will get to hear those over time. But I let you hear one group was incredibly animated.
Yes,
and just they were a catchphrase machine. I can't describe them any other way. They were a great group from. Actually, they were all over the place. One guy was from Sturbridge, another guy was from Leicester. They were from everywhere.
Yep.
But they all get together and go ice fishing once or twice a year, and they were a blast. A lot of people had their kids out on the ice, so that was fun.
That's cool.
We ended up actually talking to the group that turned in the first. Well, at least let me make sure I word this correctly. They were the group that turned in the fish that first appeared on Joe's Facebook feed.
Oh, okay.
So whether it was the actual first fish of the tournament turned in or not, but they turned it in.
That's cool.
That one popped up first. So that was actually, and while we were there, you'll hear that conversation. I'm actually talking. The conversation was winding down. I'm in mid sentence, and I'm like, yeah. So hope you guys can get to Old Glory. Oh, flag, because I saw it. They had their backs turned to their flag, and it said, hey, you got a flag. So that was kind of fun. But we went out, we walked around, we talked to a whole bunch of people. The turnout was phenomenal.
Yep.
I did have a couple notes on it. We have this. The standings are available both on our Instagram feed, so the Jigs and Bigs Instagram feed, and I believe you put it on the Facebook as well, right?
No, those are just on the Facebook feed. It was.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, Joe had posted them on Facebook. I just reshared them there, so to get them a little bit of extra visibility. I may grab a screenshot and throw it on Instagram. That might not be a bad idea.
Yeah, well, either way, they're available on Facebook. So if anybody wants to see how the tournament ended up, a bunch of nice pike were caught, a bunch of nice pickerel, and a few nice bass. And I think there was even a couple of perch over 13.
Yeah.
So check that out if you're interested to see what happened on Quabog yesterday. The carnage at Quabog. Yesterday was Nelson and I talked about this after we were done at the at our late breakfast.
Yep.
Joe deserves sainthood. Okay.
Yeah.
For one reason. He introduced innumerable anglers to CPR trial by fire yesterday.
Oh yeah.
So I looked at some of the pictures, just kind of keeping an eye on how things were going and et cetera. And I just saw I immediately knew Joe felt my pain because a lot of anglers didn't have rulers. A lot of guys had tape measures. A lot of guys had, I don't know. I'm sure somebody tried to measure something with their shoe and say they were size 12. I have no idea.
Yep.
But it was all over the place, and not having that standard measurement, he had to sort through all that, and I know how daunting that can be. So, Joe, great job, man. You did a knockout job. Can't wait till the next one. And if you want my 2 cents, I'm always happy to provide that. But he knows that.
Yeah, he knows.
Yeah. And then God, I hate to bring this up, but this was a down note. I did see one post on Facebook. Some people left some garbage out on the ice. We're adults. I don't care how much you've been partying. Bring a bag before. Put it in the bag. Take it off the ice. Don't leave it for somebody else to clean up.
Yep.
That doesn't make you a fisherman. That makes you an asshole.
Yeah.
That's all I want to say about that. I could rant for 20 minutes about that, especially considering who our guest is today. Right?
No,
our guest,
not today.
Oh,
yeah, that was recorded yesterday. Our guest today is Rachel Walka.
I'm sorry. Apologies to Rachel.
But it works. It works exactly to make that point. Like yesterday, while you were doing that, I was doing an interview with Brett and Brian from Make Massachusetts Fishing Spots Great Again, which is an amazing grassroots organization that started on social media as a Facebook group of people that really care about the environment that they're trying to enjoy. And it's taken off. I gotta say this much: it has taken off much further than I had even was aware of where it was. Like, it's crazy stuff. And there are things that we're gonna work on with them together to help them get stuff done. So very, very cool. But yeah, it ties in because ironically, as like you're saying, that was a situation at the end of the Derby yesterday. We did have a great conversation with Brett and Brian going over all this stuff. Rodney's chiming in, man, nothing pisses me off more than trash. Section of the river the boy and I fish a lot is full of gas station plastic bags and to-go cups all the time, man. I see Dunkin' Donuts and Cumberland Farms cups all over the place. There's even in the interview I mentioned to Brett, I go, I'm one of those guys where, I was raised where my father would be like, oh, you see that on the ground? And he would say, and it would be a bag of like Senkos or, any soft plastic bait, anything. He's like, that's a gold mine. And I'm, why? And he's like, because you can take that and fill it up with other trash and then take it the hell out with you because people are animals, And I'm like, yeah, that's true, and I, it's just one of those things. So you're right. Like, let's not, there's a whole rabbit hole that's going to jump down there. And there's like, I'm not saying that these amazing folks with Make Massachusetts Fishing Spots Great Again are there to pick up after you. They shouldn't have to do that. You know what I mean? But if you see something out there, grab it and take it out. You're at least helping the greater good,
Correct.
Off my soapbox.
Yeah, that was, and honestly, I could rant for longer about it, but
I believe
it's sad that I'm sure it was I didn't hear more than one or two reports, so I don't think it was widespread. I think most people did the right thing, but even just hearing it once sucks. So, unfortunately, that's what happens sometimes. People think they're outdoorsmen and then they throw styrofoam and shit all over the place, and that doesn't make you an outdoorsman. It makes you an asshole.
Yeah, and actually, you make a really good point because sometimes people will do a great job picking up things on the ice. They're out there and they're just like, oh, I got all this stuff, great, and then they're loading up the car, and then a gust of wind comes and blows that bag that you picked up of everything right back out there. That doesn't help the situation. It also doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, you got to do what you got to do. We got another one coming in here. The city, Rodney jumps in and says, the city even comes out with trash cans at the trailheads. Oh, and they still can't handle the issue. We always have a bag with us to pick other stuff up. You need to. I mean, it's unfortunate that you need to, but you really do kind of need to have something. And that's one of the things that this organization does is they drop trash barrels and they align with other companies to routinely, pick the stuff up. Because that's the other part of it too. If you're putting a bunch of stuff in a bag, if it's not getting picked up and cleared out, then it is. But let's go ahead and move on, man. What else do we have? I got your list somewhere of stuff.
Yeah. Do you want to jump in real quick? We have kind of an important announcement.
Yes.
Let's get that up front and make sure everybody's aware of it.
Yep.
You want to go or me? You have all the information.
There is I don't have all of the information. Give me the backstory, and I'm going to go ahead and talk about where we're going to drop links and things like that.
Okay, yeah, as long as you can get the link up. Yep. So Berkshire Brett of the fishing report team gave me or sent me a text the other day. Asking if we would be so kind as to make this announcement, and I was all on board, because it's affecting a fellow veteran.
Yep.
So one of Brett's members in his unit, I guess he deployed with him a couple times, got into a car accident. I believe he's in law enforcement, and he had some injuries and whatnot. And there is a GoFundMe page set up for him. I believe his name is Knowles. Is that correct? Knowles.
I believe it is. Hang on. I'm in a process of sharing. Officer Knowlton.
Knowlton. I apologize. Yeah. Okay. So Officer Knowlton was injured pretty badly doing his job. And Brett asked if we could spread the information. Do you have the GoFundMe page address up or?
I do. I'm going to post it over at the Jigs and Bigs Facebook page because we can share the link right there. I'm also going to put a post up on our story directing people over there. But on top of that, at jigsandbigs.com, there will be one. I'm actually going to go ahead and try to post it. Now, I won't be able to do so on YouTube at this moment, but I'll get it over on the Jigs and Bigs Facebook page. But right now, just to throw it out there, they're looking to raise $15,000. They're already at over 12.5K.
Perfect. So the word's getting out, but let's see if we can help a little more. Yep. Guy's a veteran, guy's hurt. He's in law enforcement. See if we can help him out.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. We'll get that over there for you. I'm going to try and get that over and as smoothly as I can and put a nice little post together. But whatever you guys can do. And I think we're probably going to go ahead and make a donation ourselves. Boom. Done deal. I love it. So you guys can go over there and check that out, get all the information, make a donation if you're able to, and help out someone who really needs it. I think that's really, really awesome. So what else do we have? We talked about, you had one hell of a weekend. You started with a big weekend, even before the ice fishing derby. You had your very first trivia win.
I did?
Yeah. That's huge.
I'm proud of it. And dude, that was rough. And I got it was the last question that put me over. And I'm not going to say I was completely knowledgeable. I took a wild swinging guess.
Sometimes that's
that was actually the same or close. I think I told you after the trivia. I took a wild swinging guess that was in the neighborhood of a guess I had taken earlier that was way off.
Yeah.
And I was very close. So Bobby asked a question. I don't even remember what the question was, man, but it was a numerical question.
Yep.
And we had to answer numerically. And the correct answer to whatever this question was 75. And I was so far off. I had put in 351 for no reason. I had no idea what the answer was.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even remember the question at this point. If you can, whatever, but it's not super important. So I had 351 in my head. And then the last question of the night was numerical. I was in second place. I had a chance to jump into first if I got it right, because only one person can get that question right, because it's whoever's
the nearest
closest.
one, yeah.
Yeah. So I had 351 just lurking around in my head. And the question was, how many words are there in Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody?
That's right. That was the last question.
Seems low for that. And I said, I'll go 371. I upped it by 20, and the answer was 382. What was the next closest person? Was anybody even close?
No, there were some people who put like thousands, and I think a lot of people went were leaning toward like that direction. I don't remember offhand. I mean, there might have been somebody that put 200 something, or somebody was like about 100. I don't know.
Yeah.
But you got to remember, they're counting a lot of bizarre words, and they were counting even the repeats as well.
Yeah.
So every time there was an A or an I, they were counting all that stuff too as one. So
I got completely lucky with that. And one question that I wanted to make sure I made a note of that you're going to have some fun with. This is pretty self-deprecating. There was a visual question.
Yep.
And the visual that you put up a picture, and usually with those visual pictures, it's who is this, and you have to put the first letter of the person's first name.
Yep. So
the picture was of someone in the surf. Their head was eliminated from the picture.
Oh, that's right.
Heavily tattooed and completely ripped. It was a gentleman.
Yep.
Right, with their shirt off, wearing board shorts. Now, you said, I think the question had something. You said L.A. celebrity, right, or L.A. sports celebrity.
I didn't even give that much.
I thought it was a sports celebrity.
I might have said an athlete or something like that.
Yeah, it was an athlete. So I looked at that. Now this picture, what I looked at, and contrary to your belief, I was not looking at abs and crotch. He had a full sleeve on his right arm of tattoos. He also had several tattoos going up his rib cage, and I'm like, wait a minute, athlete. I could have swore it said California or LA. That's what I think that was in the question. You can verify that, but or you said in the Malibu surf or something like that. So that led me to believe California.
Yeah.
But generally, I think, and this is looking into my mind, the questions you ask, or a lot of the questions, they're not like super, super, super specific. You weren't that question wasn't going to be a third string, a third string cornerback on the freaking Rams.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So that was going to be a big name, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, doesn't David Beckham have a right sleeve on his arm? And I put D, and I was the only person to get it right. And you're like, how the fuck do you know the half naked guy?
I think I busted your chops about either being a fan of Calvin Klein advertisements, or
I do wear Calvin Klein jeans though. If you buy jeans and you want your ass to feel good, you buy Calvin Klein. I'll tell you that. They ain't cheap, but that's the only money I spend on clothes is Calvin Klein. Calvin Klein jeans are fucking comfortable.
That's good to know. The other
do we have to reach out to them for advertising now?
Maybe non-spons, but I mean, we should look into it. And then I think the other one that I threw out there that I was like, well, maybe he's just a big Spice Girls fan. And it's more of like, he's married to Posh, blah, 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 blah. And then I thought, well, maybe he's just really into soccer. And I don't know which of those is worse than the other, but, Tattooing. In fact, weren't you having a very heated conversation with Chris about soccer and American football the week prior?
Yes, and Chris was drunk.
Duh.
That's what Chris does. Chris gets drunk so that he slows down and can't answer the questions properly, and then gets upset.
Then he gets pissed.
Because he can't answer the questions properly, or fat fingers them, and then he gets drunker. So it's like, it's this never-ending cycle. But he has a good time.
That's exactly
quote-unquote, it's his jam. So,
exactly.
That one other thing that did happen at trivia that was absolutely awesome was my son has actually started really playing along. So he
yeah.
brings he brings his phone to play along, but he also brings his what do you got? A Switch Lite so he can play. No, he has a Switch. So he plays his Switch in between rounds. And he heard there was one visual question. It had to do with a children's some show on Nickelodeon, right?
Yeah.
And he was so excited to answer. Now, none of the adults in the room knew it. And he hit that thing. He's like, whoa. And he hit it. And then before you could even turn around, he's raising his hand like he's in school. Like, I know the answer. I know the answer. I'm like, dude, you hit the button. I'm laughing. I'm like, you hit the button. Relax. He knows.
He knows.
Nobody else is answering this shit. So, and one other thing, like when I first started bringing him to trivia, you were like, you had said something, and somebody across the room, because they saw my son sitting there, and said, earmuffs. Folks at trivia, this is my son.
Yes, exactly. The apple don't fall far. There was one time where he answered something, and then like there was something. I'll substitute the phrasing because I don't know what it was, but it was to the effectiveness of giggity, and I was like, I think I said on the mic, I was like, the apple don't fall far, kid. The apple don't fall far.
No, it was early in the game, and at that point, his score had reached the magical number of 69.
That's what it was, and he laughed about
69. I'm like, yeah, okay, you're gonna laugh about that. That's all right. And then you turned around and made a comment. Yeah.
Oh, I love it, man. It was so funny.
But hey, he's about to turn 14, and if he wants to make jokes like that, he made it quietly. I mean, he and I were the only people that heard it.
That was exactly what I was like. Nope, that is.
But
awesome.
I'm like, yeah, that's my son. There you go. But yeah, trivia was a blast. And I will say this before I left for trivia, something else I wanted to cover real quick that's not fishing related. And we'll get back into the fishing stuff here.
Oh yeah.
Before I left, usually what I do is, and I've done this since I was, probably a freshman in high school, getting all fired up to go to a dance or whatever. Like,
yeah.
I know. Do high schools even have dances anymore?
They do, and they're grosser than ever.
Oh, gross. All right. Well, that's awful. So
I need to clarify. It's only because I occasionally get hired to DJ them, and I'm very No, I'm not like the guy in the van. That's that's not my jam.
You say that. You say that, but you also laughed real hard when a 14 or 13-year-old said 69.
It's true. Yeah. Well, that's just because that's where my mentality is too. I've never grown up past a certain age development. Oh, this is great. Roadkill Nick likes the stories.
Good. We're here to entertain you, Nick.
I love he's got his name as Roadkill Nick too. That's great.
So going back to the day when I would get ready for dances or getting ready to go out or whatever, I would always just blast whatever I was listening to so I could hear it over the shower. And then while I was getting ready, just have music on, right?
Yep.
Which drove my parents pretty much clinically insane. Yeah. So as I was going to get a CD to pop into my player so I could listen to, and I know I'm dating myself, but I have an old stereo and I love it. I grab a CD and I'm like, you know what? I grabbed something old, not too well. It's about 20 years old. It's post-grunge progressive metal, I guess. I don't know if some mix of progressive and thrash metal. I grabbed a CD by a Seattle band called Nevermore.
Oh,
and
good
and
stuff.
I grabbed that. Yeah. And I said, you know what? I wonder what Chris DeBari thinks of this. And I simply gave him a command. And I said, Chris, we're playing a new game now. I'm just going to grab a CD, send you a picture of it when I'm listening to it. And you're going to tell me what you think. So Chris responded with a completely ridiculous story that I can't relay on air that I laughed at. And I think I told you too.
Yep.
Yeah. But thank you, Chris. We're going to continue this game if you're okay with it, which he seems to be fine with.
Funny you mention Mr. DeBari. He made a post this weekend on Instagram from Bar Taco, where he was enjoying a duck quesadilla, and I think it gets his seal of approval.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Did you see the toast they did with the duck quesadilla?
I did. I'm like, yes.
Excellent. If you can work Jaws into duck quesadillas, you are a titan among men.
Yes. A true hero at that point.
Yeah. So anybody who wants to see what we're talking about, check out Chris's C DeBari? DeBari?
I think it's C _DeBari.
Okay. Well, I think it's two unprepared podcast hosts. That's
exactly.
So check out Chris DeBari's feed. He went out and he's providing a testimonial.
It's C DeBari 333. Check him out. Give him a follow. I haven't had Chris on the show. We gotta rectify that.
Yeah, we do. So Roadkill Nick is now getting into the duck quesadilla business since he says no restaurants make any around there. Where's Nick? Where are you out of?
I think,
and I will wait on that answer.
I think he's somewhere in the Midwest, and if I'm not mistaken, I think that they're looking to relocate. So, and as we did find out recently, Bar Taco does have 19 stores around the area. Yeah, Midwest Illinois. Illinois. Oh,
well,
my goodness.
Roadkill Nick, if you're interested in tournament fishing, why don't you come out and fish some regional tournaments with us? We'll get you on some duck.
We'll get some duck. Absolutely. We got
get you on some duck.
I did share a picture. There was one of the duck hunting Instagrams was doing a contest of like a caption contest or trying to get users to submit photos with like, just huge hauls of birds. And they're like, just as comical as the picture as you have, go ahead and share it. And it actually worked out really great. But I shared that I don't see a bunch of ducks. I see a bunch of quesadillas, and they apparently got quite the kick out of that. So
good.
I hope Bar Taco enjoys all this stuff that we're pushing their way, and that maybe miracles can happen. And
we'll find out, won't we?
I'm hoping that we will.
We'll find out.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll find out.
If I could do one thing, it would be I don't care about buying everyone in the world a Coke. I'd like to give everyone in the world a duck quesadilla.
Yeah. It's necessary. I think that would probably solve most of the issues in the world peace, any political divides.
Yep.
Screw that. Have a duck quesadilla.
Have a duck quesadilla and shut the fuck up.
Cats and dogs will live together with duck quesadillas. It's all good.
I believe that's an old Bill Cosby slogan, actually. Have a Coke and a smile and shut the fuck up.
Yep. And hey, while we're on the topic of food,
okay,
right? I know I had asked you, but yes, good. Now you're like, boom, shifting gears. Here we go. So I know we had talked about this. Was it yesterday, the day before? So you're not a big sports guy, and
nope.
My sports interest has dwindled over the years to where I'll watch the NFL playoffs. I'll watch, really anything with like a 7-game series in the championships. I completely stopped watching. It just takes too much time.
Yeah.
I'll watch the NFL. Honestly, let's get a little, into a social issue here.
Okay.
So and this is not going to go the way you people think. I'm not talking about anything that we loathe to get into.
Exactly.
But over time, really, like back in the early 1900s, when people had the time to pay attention to a 100-game baseball season, nobody has the time anymore. So that's why I think one of the reasons the NFL has flourished over the past decade is you got 16 games in the playoffs. You got 2 days, I know they're making it Thursday now, but you got Thursday, Sunday, and Monday. That's all the games you have to pay attention to. To be quite honest, I don't even have a full cable selection, so I don't get to see most Thursday night games. So I don't even care. Like most of my watching is like I'll eat something, fall asleep on the couch during the Sunday afternoon games, and then I'll wake up and have dinner.
Yep.
So Monday night is on ESPN. I don't have it, so I don't watch it.
Yep.
So I'll watch the playoffs because they're on CBS, Fox, and NBC or ABC, whatever. Fucking 3 or 4 carry them. But so getting into that, are you going to be doing any food tonight? Because today is Super Bowl Sunday. We are also expecting a snowstorm here in Mass, another couple inches. Great.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be a crazy storm, although they've already got a parking ban going in my city, so we'll see. We work around with it. No, we're not doing anything crazy. One of the things that I did notice is that all of the restaurants that I do trivia in, they're all doing some kind of like a special to go tailgate spread, X amount of wings and mozzarella sticks or whatever, like a bunch of different items together. They're like under one catch-all sort of price. It's pretty cool, and I guess they've been selling out a lot. So my wife is making a lasagna, which is that's just like a regular kind of a Sunday thing. So I'm all about it. Although she is not using like real pasta. My wife likes to do a lot of keto stuff, so that's why, when I told her, she's not a big pasta fan to begin with, but she's using some kind of palm, sheets of palm. I think, I don't know. I've had it before. It's okay. It does the job. Her bolognese sauce is dynamite, though. So, yeah,
awesome.
Yeah.
So at my house, we are finally finishing off. I had frozen the striped bass that we caught over the summer. Yeah.
Nice.
On that big trip, the one that helped me win the first Chronic Trips tournament.
Yeah.
So I probably have 2 pounds of that striper left over. It's been frozen. It's actually thawing right now.
Nice.
I got a recipe for a spicy fish taco, and it's actually not fried with a coating like a panko or or cornmeal or anything like that.
Is it more like a pan sear?
It's more like I guess so. Well, the coating is actually made up of like chili and cayenne and all sorts of different shit. I'd rather watch paint dry.
Cody jumping in. Then watch football, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Because that's me. That's me.
Yeah, I get it. Like I said, we can talk about my sports experience in a minute, but as far as tonight goes, like it's a food thing and it's a cultural event, it's Super Bowl. With not having a big gathering, so we got my sister and her husband are coming over.
Nice,
and we're gonna have these spicy fish tacos. So these spicy fish tacos, they have this nice hot coating to them, and then it's simple stuff after that. Some red cabbage.
Yep.
I always put, and this is just me. I put Nando's spicy mayonnaise on there.
Oh yeah,
dude, I love Nando's. I love that shit. I discovered it maybe 6 months ago, and I may have an IV hooked up to it, my arm one day with it. You might see that with just Nando's pumping into my veins.
Nando's is crazy popular. Like
it's
there's
good.
a lot, and I think I had a trivia question about Nando's.
Yeah. So it's good.
No, it is. It is. It's really, really good. It's funny, like when it comes to sports, and let's just do this because we're recording this on Super Bowl Sunday. Everybody that's in the YouTube feed right now, JIGHEADS, go ahead, weigh in. Who do you have here? Are we talking Tampa Bay or are we talking Kansas City? I could give a shit either way. I really don't care. Brady's dead to me. I'm a Patriots guy. Keep in mind, I don't follow sports at all. Roadkill Nick's jumping in with the menu. Roadkill Nick having a lot of deer burgers tonight. I like that idea.
He was out in an F-250 last night, driving around the dark roads of Illinois, quote unquote, hunting.
Yes, but he's also got money on the Bucs going to win. He doesn't care either way, but Brady's going to take it. It's very possible. But I mean, as a New Englander, I'm not happy with this whole Brady situation. Just take a look at the Pats.
We could talk. Yeah, well, we could talk a lot about that. I mean, who is at fault for that? A lot of the blame seems to be going towards Bill Belichick, the general manager.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean. So I don't get too into it. Like there was a day,
we're making more friends. Yeah. Rodney jumps in, says, being from Indiana and forever hate we have, and the forever hate we have for Brady. You can't sleep on the pretty boy mouth kisser. I mean, he's
right. Dangerous.
He's unbelievable. And while I was picking up the Cajun food the other day, yesterday, there was a guy that was waiting in line. He was asking me, this is where I got the idea for this question. I was like, oh yeah, tomorrow's the Super Bowl. He's like, who do you have for the Super Bowl? I was like, I have no idea. At this point, honestly, I didn't even know necessarily who is in. Because I'm like, I don't give a shit.
Well, let me tell you real quick. So when I was growing up, obviously we had Larry Bird and the Patriots were okay. And the Red Sox had good teams, World Series in 86. So I grew up obviously a New England sports fan. I did really like watching the 80s 49ers. The Rice, Montana 49ers were always awesome to watch.
Yeah,
and especially when the Patriots
team.
Yeah, and especially when the Patriots would get to the first round and get bounced or some shit. So you watch those games. My dad's a Giants fan, like hardcore. You go into my dad's garage.
He's one of those.
And yeah, he's hard. There's shit all over the walls of the Giants.
I have
he grew up watching the Giants
like that.
Yep. So when, I always made a point to go out to Fenway at least once or twice a year since I was a kid, whenever we started driving. And then I got really, obviously growing up and playing basketball, I was so into the NBA in the 90s up until like 95 or 96, maybe 96. And then I just lost it because I got involved in, attempting to be an adult and partying. Those two things kind of pushed the NBA out. But I in high school, I was that guy senior and junior year where my brother and I, on like a Monday night, if the playoffs were on, we just watch the whole slate on TBS and TNT, and it's like 1:00 in the morning. We're up watching, Rockets Sonics in game 3 for no reason. You know what I mean? And that's how we used to do hard, where there's really no payoff. And I know they tried to improve that recently with the little playoff system, but I think it sucks. So I never got into college football.
Yeah.
College basketball is a blast. That was always fun with March Madness. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there for those people who only gamble once a year on March Madness.
Yep.
I came across a way of betting on the March Madness. Now, this is all like it's not like going through a bookie or anything like that. It's if somebody runs an office pool. Everybody runs an office pool. I don't think that the FBI or CIA or IRS are going to come down on me right now for saying that most people in America run office pools. You can go on CBSSports.com, ABC, ESPN, NBC. Everybody gives you a platform to run those. So here's one we came across, an office pool format that completely nullifies. Number one, nullifies the guy that knows everything about college basketball. Yep. And number two, it nullifies Dottie, the office secretary. God, that was sexist. It nullifies the office secretary.
The office administrative assistant.
Yes, thank you. That of either
HR.
Sex. I apologize. I know. And I'm getting a fucking
master's.
I'm getting a master's in HR, and I said that. So I'm a piece of shit. So let me take that step back. Your admin person who knows nothing about college basketball and picks, the mascots or the uniforms or whatever. So we came across a way, I'm not going to say where or how, that it's just like the Super Bowl squares where you pick 2 digits or you get 2 digits randomly assigned to you. Okay. And those 2 digits you get assigned to you are the home and the away team. So that's your X and Y axis, your home and away team last digit of their final score. So it doesn't matter who wins. Yeah. If you have the home team finishing with a 2 at their last digit and the away team finishing with a 6, it doesn't matter who wins. So you're not picking to see who's smarter. You're looking at the scoreboard.
Yeah, really.
And your score carries through from the first game of the tournament all the way to the end, so no one gets eliminated. So you're not in the Sweet 16. You're like, well, shit, I already lost 3 of my final 14.
Lost in the first round, and you're just like,
you're in it the whole time. It is nuts.
Yeah.
That reinvigorated college basketball watching for me, because now I just watch the last 2 minutes of every game. I don't care who's winning. I have no horse, but I'm like, now I'm rooting for teams to foul and get free throws and screw with their score. Oh, it's just a whole new dimension to watching the college basketball. So anybody's listening to that, if you're running your pools, try that.
Well, it's interesting. We got a couple of comments here about college sports specifically. Like Roadkill Nick jumps in and says he enjoys college football way more because players play for the game and not for the money. I get that, but when it comes to football, like, that's the one thing about NFL players that they have is the gross amount of money that they make, and they got to be smart about the way they spend it. The damage that takes on you, like, long term, is crazy. I actually know, like, quite a bit about. I'm not going to say no. I've read quite a bit about, and I really got on a freaking soapbox a few years ago with the BCS. I hated the BCS. I did everything I could to learn about it so I could hate it more. So, Nick, my only response to that is, these guys aren't getting paid. The NCAA is really like a slave system. It's just ridiculous. And those guys, it's bullshit. And actually, my brother and I were just talking about this. If you play, NCAA football hasn't been out for years because of that issue, because there's so many lawsuits going through, particularly in California, based on the players and saying, okay, we need to get paid and this and that and the other thing, which I understand because honestly, you're an athlete at a college. You're getting paid to play, right? How often are you actually going to course? You going to your classes? My thought is, you know what a full scholarship should be? It should be 8 years. Yeah.
You know why?
Including
room and board paid for your 4 years.
Yep.
All right. Which isn't like, it's expensive depending on what college you go to, but it's not the end all be all. Room and board are paid for your 4 years while you're an athlete there.
Yeah. At
that point, the second part, when you're done being an athlete, kicks in, and then you can go to class properly like a regular student if you're not going to the NBA.
Oh yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense.
That's just simple. That's a simple solution to a complex problem, but then the facade is gone.
Yeah. Then you're,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, because that's the thing. You basically get floated through 4 years of school so that you can assist that athletic department. Really. Yeah. And you're kind of not really getting the benefits of the collegiate. The degree and the classes.
Where it gets a little sketchy is, if you're part of that program, right?
Yep.
And you're being paid, whether it's room, board, whatever, and all this shit's going on. Technically, for a state college or university, you're a state employee. How does that work?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like I said, I just threw out a very simple answer to a very complex question. Yep. There's a lot more that goes into that, but that's a start. It's something to talk about. I am not an authority, but it was just a thought. Because it's bullshit. I mean, come on. Some of these guys aren't going to class. I would be willing to bet that. And I've heard stories one way or another through people I've known over the years that I kind of have a laugh at. I'm like, yeah, well, that's what everyone thinks anyways. So It's just a thought. But yeah, I was that guy who stayed up late, even up to the point where my son, my oldest son, was born. I got very, very, very into the Red Sox, like way more than I was as a kid, probably around 98, 99. So the Pedro and Nomar teams.
Yep.
Like I really started getting interest, especially when I was active duty. I was just always watching Red Sox games whenever they were on and trying to get them. There was no streaming in the late
Back
90s.
then. No, exactly.
So I watched everything I could, but I got more and more into them. And then 03 happened, and I thought I like the rest of New England, died a little bit inside. And then 04 happened, and I actually was sober. That was my first stint of sobriety for a long time. And that 04 World Series happened. I had one glass of champagne that night, and I went into a relapse.
That's the way
I was drunk for like a year.
Wow.
Yeah, it was awful. Yeah. So I was at a bar watching that final out in 04 and had a glass of champagne, and 6 months later I was face down drunk.
I was when in 04 I was living in East Hampton, Mass, right adjacent in an apartment that was adjacent to the Brass Cat. Now, the Brass Cat is one of the biggest Red Sox bars. With that, like they have a whole wall that's decorated as the Green Monster in the bar. Like every game, they unplug the jukebox, and they have one of the best jukeboxes. At that time, it was one of the best in any bars, and they would unplug that. The night of that game, the street exploded outside of my apartment. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. Cody jumps in with a comment, though, that I want to call reference to, because as much as I say I'm not a sports guy, I remember this game. Cody says the last sports event he watched was Duke, Michigan, when Christian Laettner won the game at the buzzer. I remember that. I saw that.
Was that? Well, no, that was Duke, Kentucky, and that was a national semifinal. That's called the game.
Yeah.
That was Duke, Kentucky.
Was it Kentucky?
Sorry. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, this was how many years ago?
That was 90.
Yeah.
90, somewhere between 91 and 93. I don't know.
I think it was a little closer to 93.
Nope. It was while we were in high school.
Yeah, we were in high school in 93. We only graduated in 95.
Yeah, I know, but it was 90. Yeah, Duke, Kentucky, 92. Look at that. I was dead on.
Ah, look at that. Yeah.
Duke, it was a national semifinal. Yeah. You were close, Cody. You were close. I know that there's too many college basketball games that live on in history, so I make mistakes.
Well, and for a game that happened that long ago, and when you have the age that we have, oh my god,
I know, fucking,
that's freaking bananas.
Decrepit. But yeah, I mean, I got really into the Red Sox for a while. I was watching every game. I was that asshole up until I had kids. I would show up to work all fucked up a week not because I was drinking, because I was sober, but fucked up for a week. No, because the Red Sox would be on a West Coast swing, and I'd stay up, till 2 o'clock in the morning listening to them.
Yep.
Yeah, listen to some blowout against the Mariners for no reason. Yep. So I was like, stupid. But I've over time I've really pulled back, and there's more shit going on. I'd rather be fishing, to be quite honest.
Well, and it's interesting because who was it? So Jerry House jumps in here and he says, "Don't really watch sports other than fishing," but he's rooting for the Bucks for today. So
I think there's going to be a lot of New England sentiment going towards Brady, because a lot of people realize that there was some friction going on with him in the organization, and it didn't. For all Brady's shenanigans off the field, he's always been, I think, very positive towards fans out here anyway, so whatever.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's definitely Pats fans. There's definitely Brady fans.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, really you figure it out. And the one, he had, a couple of years with Moss where they actually gave him weapons to go nuts with, and look what happened. He set fucking 5,000 passing records or whatever. But, I mean, it was just always seemed like patching up stuff with bubble gum and freaking, popsicle sticks and shit.
Yep.
And that's just the way the Patriots seem to operate. And it worked because they had apparently the greatest quarterback of all time. But now they don't. Look what happened. So whatever. Yeah. That's sports. So shall we talk about fishing outside of this?
Let's move on. Yeah. Let's, what do we got up next up on the list?
We got a big congratulations first up.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. So, was it last weekend? I don't know, this winter and year have gone on already.
It was
forever.
last weekend. Yeah, it was. This all actually went down while we were recording at Three Bells.
That's right. That's right. So
it was last weekend.
Last weekend there was a KBF event down at the Kissimmee Chain in Florida, and a number of MAKB anglers went down there. Ken Wood went down there. I believe Joe DiDeo was down there, and John Ferrer was down there. And if I'm forgetting anybody, I apologize, but I'm just we're spitballing here. So they went down there, And look, I'm sorry, Cody. I had to. That was the game. Cody says, "Well, I stand corrected." I'm not. I don't think any less of you, Cody. I'm actually really happy we're interacting this way, and this is all new.
This is amazing, by the way. Just to throw that out there, like this, I'm 100% into this. Jerry agrees. Yes, we'll switch to fishing.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry. We go off on tangents. Sometimes people like that. So, anyways, back to Kissimmee. So there was a big KBF event there. It was a trail stop. It was a 2-day trail stop.
Yep.
I believe that was Saturday and Sunday. And then Tuesday and Wednesday was the DZ 10, where 10, I think it's 11 anglers participate. I have to learn more about the 10. I don't know enough about it. I don't know the qualifications for it. I know there were 2 anglers from Massachusetts, Matt Conant and Derek Brundle, that were down there fishing.
Yep.
I don't think they finished top. I don't think they finished at the top, unfortunately. But the trail event on Saturday and Sunday, John Ferrero won the first one. He won the Saturday.
Yeah.
So congrats to John. That was a stacked field. He went up.
Excellent job, John.
He went out there and he did the job, and he hung on all day. He weathered the storm. So great job. Great job. I fished down there. I love the Kissimmee chain. It's really nice. I have limited experience to it. Just again, seeing as we're talking, we're going to wrap New England sports into it. That was where I got that guide who showed me Johnny Damon's house and relayed the story of the New Englanders threatening the not at home Johnny Damon. Yeah. He comes out on his dock, I'm going to kick his ass. So, but no, congrats, John. And actually he had gotten back, and I got in touch with him because we are working, John and I are working hand in hand on getting sure this format down. So for the season, for the fishing season, for the recaps of all the tournaments, both EKF and MAKB. So we're going to have an outlet just devoted to that John and I are going to be really running through as the year goes on. So get ready for that, folks.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool.
It's going to be good stuff. I'm the same way though. When it comes to the 10, like I'm not the road up to the 10. I don't necessarily really know the qualifications or anything for, but I've seen some of the past years' competition, and you do see like you see a handful of Massachusetts anglers that go down there, and it just makes me smile because I'm like, especially in the Northeast, like everybody thinks that writes the Northeast off as either a saltwater fishery or, like they just kind of blow it off. Like it's not really bass country. And, it's great that in what is really like the big game, when you look at it at that level, Massachusetts is showing up. New England is showing up. That's so cool. Yeah. So
especially, I mentioned Matt Conant. He's the reigning national champion.
Yeah.
He went down there and had a slugfest with, God, I can't remember his name. I'm a piece of shit. Yeah. He went down there and had an absolute battle in the championship. Was it this fall? So congrats to Matt. But and it's getting some notice. There are some people that are saying, it's amazing that New England is pumping out like this, quality of angler where no one really expects it, So. No, it's cool.
It's very cool. It's definitely every time I see, a post, from either Matt or Derek or Ken is such a great supporter of everybody in the MAKB organization that he's always dropping stuff when somebody's got some sort of an achievement or anything. So it's always cool. Like there's a lot of action.
That's one of the things that I love and really drew me into MAKB before this. And this isn't like a spiel. This is really what it is. Yeah. Like, the support that group, and now that Nelson and I and you by extension are all a part of, the support that group shows for each other is absolutely fantastic. Good morning, Gravy. We see you.
We see you, Eric. How you doing, bud?
Yeah, it really becomes, you're competing, but it's like win or lose.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say family, but it's close. It's really tight. It's a tight group, and it's a very positive tight group. So that's one of the things that drew me into it, and I'm lucky that Ken was open to me opening up the West. This is awesome.
Oh yeah. So, Eric says 5-0.
So Eric's been posting a lot about and Eric, correct me if I'm wrong on this. He's been posting a lot on Facebook about his hockey team. So I believe that regards to either the score of the championship game or that his team is 5-0. Eric, talk to us. We'll come back to you.
We'll get back to
it. I have 2 other things. I'm going to save the chronic trips for last. There's one thing that I think we should talk about a little bit.
Okay.
Because it's a different environment. right now. You and I talking on here with our folks watching us on Patreon.
Oh yeah.
Let's break down our little trip last weekend.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that.
I don't think we could, like, we were in the middle of it, and I didn't really have time to assess what actually went on while we were recording at Three Bells.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, Eric's giving us our update.
Yep.
Only 5-0. Have to win them. Have to win 8. Only 5-0. Only unbeaten more than halfway through the season. Keep it up, man.
That's awesome. That's killer.
All right. Roadkill Nick out hitting deer with his car for lunch right now. Loves this shit, and it's amazing. Thank you, Roadkill Nick.
I love it. I love it. It's awesome.
Awesome. So, what were your thoughts first? I mean,
on last week at Three Bells.
Yeah.
So last week was just mind blowing. Like, you know, we've already shared that, like, we know working with Three Bells, working with Lauren, Derek, and finally getting to meet Ted after hearing so much about, like, what he's capable of over there in the shop has been really amazing. But seeing the place itself, fantastic. You know, just kind of seeing the way that they work and getting to know them a little bit more and see them in their own element, I think was really, really amazing. I think that the level of care was with, like, that they took to make sure that you were in the right yak. And the thing that I love about that is that I don't feel like that was because we're the Jigs and Bigs podcast. Like, that is really, because that's what we said initially was, like, you know, when we do this, like, let's come down and check it out and walk us through the whole, like, how does this all work? Somebody shows up and they're interested in trying something out. So they've got a lot of knowledge, like, way more than I initially had thought, as far as where they put the customer first and the customer's needs first. Like, unbelievable. So I'm really, really psyched. They're freaking amazing.
Yep. And same thing I did, because I know you and Derek had talked about one particular model of kayak. I think am I correct on this? They're expecting that shipment at some point in the future. Yeah. So you're on deck for getting the same procedure. You know, really, I mean, it's a system of what kayak are you going to get into that's going to fit you the best and do what you got to do. I think in my case, we did have that conversation beforehand, and I did say, you know, there's some physical issues. Number one, with my knees, and number two, I'm a big dude. So basing it off that considerably narrows down the amount of kayaks that he and I could, you know, look at. And then we talked preferences. So it's like needs first, preferences next. Preferences were, well, you know, I like light. I always try to get light. So when the feel free got taken out of the equation because I couldn't fit in it, that was like the question mark. So the need was not met. We looked at the Slayer and the Titan, and I had come in with the preconception that the Titan might have, or the Slayer might have been the way to go. Yep. But the Titan, you can stand up in it, but like I said on the show, I only stand up when I need to, you know,
take a leak.
When I got to take a leak, when I got to refill the lake. Yep. So
I always thought that's what the scupper holes were for, though.
Well, he said that, and I actually like to get up and stretch a little bit when I do it, and and you know, honestly, when it comes to that, well, the scupper hole and that the big hole where you drop the propel drive. Yes. He's like, yeah, you could just drop a deuce right there, turn around, swivel seat would be invaluable right there, but he had suggested that, and I said, well, I spent $5 up in Minnesota one year for one of those little green piss jugs, for lack of a better term. They're actually called that. That's what they are. Yeah. You can use a Gatorade bottle in a pinch, but this is a piss jug. Yeah. So I have my piss jug, and I bring it with me just in case I'm on a lake where there's houses and I can't stand up in somebody's yard and take a leak. You know, then I have to be kind of sly. And wait for the cat calls. Yep.
Oh my.
Oh my.
Our guest this week, Rachel Walka.
Yep.
She shared a little bit of info in a discussion afterwards regarding how much of a pain in the ass it is when you have to relieve yourself and you're out there fishing, for women versus men. So I made a suggestion, and I don't know if she will use it, but maybe some of our female listeners will be able to weigh in here. As a father of 2 daughters, I have purchased a Go Girl for my kids. Have you ever seen this? So
I have that. Well, I have that one that's the luggable loo. So it's a top that you can put on top of a 5-gallon bucket, which we use ice fishing. You know what I mean? Because I have boys, so we have it a little easier.
Sure. This is like a funnel that you utilize so that you can aim. It's a whole other kind of thing. It's I don't know. It is what it is, but it's just something that kind of came up in conversation. I thought we were talking about being out in the elements and needing to relieve oneself. Yeah, it is kind of a pain in the ass if you're a woman. But definitely, it's a struggle.
I mean, we all learned a suitable method from the gentleman known as Shitter. Just hang over the side of the boat and do what you got to do.
Rodney jumps in and says, is it like a shiwi? Yeah, that's exact. It's like, I could only really say it's like a funnel that's designed, it's ergonomically designed to cup up against you so that you can, take a leak without necessarily having to jump through hoops or anything like that. But we had a good conversation. You guys, I think, are going to really like this interview. Rachel's awesome. Having that.
Kodiak. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
I think actually I was just about to jump into the same thing. Cody asking about a canoe.
Yes. Yeah. So why not a canoe is what Cody's asking. All right. So a canoe is way more difficult to control than a kayak. If that's what I'm guessing, Cody, you're asking why a canoe, why not a canoe versus a kayak? It's way more difficult to control. It's not as stable. Kayaks have come so far from what they were 10 to 15 years ago that it's insane. I really can't tell you. Now, that being said, my native ultimates are canoe kayak hybrids.
Yeah.
But they're shaped a lot differently. They're more compact, and they're a lot lighter than most regular closed hull sit on top kayaks. So I technically use one, I guess, but not a full canoe. I have a canoe in the backyard that cousin John was, thinking of using at the house to drop off.
Yeah.
But with a canoe that's 14 feet long or 15 feet long, it's a lot more difficult. They're wind sails. You get blown on that thing, you're gone. Try a kayak over a canoe and you'll understand real quick, Cody.
Good
Is
stuff.
that a good answer?
No, I think that's a good answer. Cody also jumps in there and says that people sleep on Northeast bass fishery, but we got the juice though. I agree. Yeah. I agree. It's a struggle up here. The grow season makes it tricky, but I agree. There's some good stuff that can be caught in these waters. Yes. Oh man, I love it. So I do. I have to admit, I think that the whole Three Bells experience for me, I'm really looking forward to see how this kind of works as far as what my experience is going to be like over there, because where you've got your one set of needs, and you need to get out there and compete, and that's one thing that I do want to say is I'm really, really interested, and I know you'll have the data because you save all this data. I'm really interested to see what the 2021 season looks like versus all the previous other seasons for you. Like this could be a total game changer. Like the boat you're getting into here is seriously no joke at all. Like it is dynamite, and they're taking great care of you too. Like they did a live where they were getting into the rigging and everything else. So dude, it's going to be freaking amazing. Jerry jumps in here real quick and he says that he's planning to go to Three Bells Outfitters next weekend and do a little shopping. I recommend it. They've got some great stuff. At first, I was when I was looking at their stuff online, I was like, okay, I got a pretty good amount of accessories. No, they've got a shit ton of amazing gear, like tons of stuff for you guys to check out, whether you're looking for you want battery options for your electronics. They've got, in fact, they also have, there is a new line. Oh, I can't forget. I can't remember what the name was. Sean, do you remember what the line was that they have for kayak storage? And they had that new rack.
Shit, I can look it up.
Yeah, take a look if you can find it. But they have this. I know Chad Hoover just did a video on this one cart, and it's amazing because it's adjustable, it's universal, but it basically cradles your kayak, and it's airless. Like the tires are solid. It's freaking unbelievable. Cody jumps in here, says he's in the process of customizing a 17-foot Grumman. Nice job. I'd love to see that. Cody, do you do any tournament fishing? I'm not sure. I know we've talked about having you on the show, and I'll get you a link if you still need it for scheduling that. But do you do any tournament fishing or anything like that? I know Slay Nation does a kayak or I don't know if they lump it together, kayak and small boat, or
Kayak and small boat, but they also, I think Slay Nation also has a kayak only, but it's certain areas. It's
I
not
think
like
they've got
everywhere.
a kayak only trail, but I think there's a canoe and small boat. That's the other one. And then I think there's one that's like kind of a mix of everything. It's crazy.
Just speaking of tournaments, so I've fished competitively with Jerry a number of times, Jerry House.
Oh, okay.
So Jerry's a great guy, and thanks for jumping on, Jerry. Just want to say that real quick, and I think he's going to be interested in MAKB this year.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure he's on that. So looking forward to seeing you again, man. I haven't seen you in a couple of years. We'll get back out there and resume the battle.
Resume the battle. Speaking
Resume
of
the
battles, the schedule this year looks unbelievable. Like it's gonna be a packed year. It's gonna be a packed year for MAKB, both East and West. The EKF schedule we've been looking at and factoring that stuff in there. There's also events that are happening with Three Bells Outfitters, and there's on top of that there is Jigs and Bigs tournament stuff happening. In fact, you guys will hear some of the ideas. I kind of want to make this work so that we can do a little philanthropic flex, if you will, so that we can, benefit some organizations that help the outdoors. That's kind of where I'd like to see all this go. But the idea is, we're thinking multi-species. We're thinking interesting sort of ways to do scoring as far as, how to advance in the tournament. It's going to be a whole lot of fun, and we're just going to have a blast with it.
Two things. So was it the Rad Sports wall hanger? Was that our thing? Does that sound right?
What's it called?
The Rad Sports wall hanger?
No, it wasn't that one. It's called like
Suspends.
Suspends. That's what it is.
Suspends. Okay.
Yeah, it's Suspends.
Yep, I'm looking at those now. They're nice.
They are very nice. And I mean, they've got everything from that's one of the things that I've been considering too, is the idea of building a shelter so that I can store my kayaks outdoor and lock them up against something of, substance. Because there's a lot of modifications that's going to happen on my end. I'm in the process right now of looking at a trailer. Just because moving around kayaks, multiple kayaks would be very helpful, especially with trying to, fish with listeners and things like that. I've just got friends that I would love to bring out that haven't experienced kayak fishing before. So I think everybody should at least try it. And
those suspends look really good, and I did not buy them originally when I made the storage for my kayaks last year, because I have those native ultimates, and being like canoes, I can't have them at an angle, because especially with my fishing one, I've got all sorts of shit that's just going to fall all over the place.
Exactly.
So I have just regular horizontal racks that stick straight out into my garage. Those suspends that Three Bells sells, those you can use in your garage for basically any sit on top or sit in kayak.
Yep.
The native ultimates, it just doesn't work with. I'm sorry. I've tried. Shit goes all over the place. Maybe not even a sit in either, but any normal sit on top kayak, you should be able to fit right into one of those. Actually, all the kayaks at Three Bells are sitting in them or something close. Yeah. So, so there's an option for you for storage. But yeah, that Three Bells, I am so looking forward to working with them. And if you go down there and you're listening to us, please let them, please let Lauren or Derek or whoever's working the desk or Ted know that you heard about them from us. Yeah. Because, we want them to see that we're bringing our A game.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
They're a quality product, and we want to let people know about it. So there you go. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was an experience. Looking forward to getting down there, picking that thing up, getting some more duck quesadillas on the way back.
For sure.
And, even the Dude Bud might come with us. I mentioned that to you the other day, when we were live streaming, that the Dude Bud may play a part because he might be getting back in the game.
Yep.
So
nice.
Yep.
We got Cody jumping in here answering a question. Yes, I was the number 2 with my buddy. We did some semi-pro tournaments locally. Was on a few trails back in the day, but fuck that shit. I try to keep it simple anymore. I can't say that I blame you, man. It's not a bad thing, Oh.
Yep. I do have a question. I think that you could initiate a poll. That would be awesome. Because I was thinking about this the other day.
Do a poll on here, on StreamYard?
It's Instagram, whatever poll you want to do it. I mean, if you do the poll now, we're only going to get a small audience. But I think for all the people that kind of follow us, maybe Instagram would probably be the smartest.
It'll be the fastest to put together, I think.
Perfect. We always talk about we're doing a multi-species. We're basing it right off of what the Chronic Trips is doing.
Yep.
Why don't we do a poll saying, do we want to do it bass only or multi-species? Because how do we know what our listeners want? This is for our listeners.
That's true.
And
you're talking about our first, the Jigs and Bigs.
Jigs and Bigs.
Yep. That sounds pretty awesome.
We should ask what they want.
That's a really good idea.
So I will say this. I'm going to pull back the beef curtain. We've talked about this. I think you and I cemented this.
Yep.
Thank you. We cemented this the other day. So one of the prizes that will be available, or one of the, I don't know, what do you want to call it? One of the side missions. That's what a gamer would call it. A side mission.
Side mission, yeah.
Right?
Side quest.
For side quest for this tournament that the tournament series that we're running is similar to how Chronic Trips has the beat Mark at Brown trout category.
Yep.
We're going to have a beat Sean at bass category.
Oh.
So I'm not going to fish as a contestant. I'm going to fish and put up one fish, whatever my biggest bass is that I catch during the period we're running the tournament.
Yep.
And whoever beats it. If 5 people beat it, it's got to be that first one where it's only going to be one person we're going to count.
It'll be the one that beats it by the biggest over that.
Yeah, even though you beat Sean, you didn't win the category. So
yeah,
if 5 people beat me, if I catch a 16-incher and 4 people or 5 people catch 20-inchers, we're only picking one winner out of that, and it's going to be the biggest fish.
We just got an invite to do some fishing, man. I'm not going to mention this on the show because I don't want to blow up the spot, but yeah, very cool.
We're already, you and I have been talking about traveling over the next year or two, so we'll see what happens. If you get the trailer, all I have to do is get a drop hitch, and I'll be able to drag that thing anywhere.
Be good to go.
So, should I relay my accident too? Because we talked about me getting a new truck.
Yeah.
I got to talk about this. This is fucking nuts. This is my life. All right. So I'm just going to describe the whole thing with the whole self-deprecating part in there too, because it's me. Can't just have a fucking normal traffic accident like everybody else. So there's a dangerous intersection in the town where my kids go to school at, right by the school. And my wife actually got her car totaled there about a year and a half ago. Like very, very dangerous. People blow this red light constantly.
Yep.
One way, you are blinded by the morning sun. And that's, I think, what happened to my wife, although there's no excuse for how fast that driver was going on that road. And my wife's very lucky that she wasn't injured. But couple weeks ago. So I have my new truck. It's a couple months old. I don't even have 5,000 miles on it yet, right? I don't even think I have 4,000 miles on it yet. And I drive it a lot. I'm at the same intersection, and I know now to look 5 times at that intersection. So I always look from the direction where the truck came that hit my wife's car. I look 2-3 times. I start going through the intersection, and I see this flash of black out of the left corner of my eye. And I look to my left, and there is a dude on a moped, a little motor scooter.
Oh no. Yeah.
And he went around all the cars on the curb side of the or on the the lane closest to the curb, not the stripe. And I swear to God, it was like an action movie. This dude flipped off his bike, tumbled, rolled, somersaulted, and slid and road rashed his way 20 feet into my truck. So I had enough time where I was like, you know what? I'm going to throw the brakes on so I don't crush this dude.
Yeah. No, that's a good idea.
And he slammed into my back wheel. The scooter, now in 50 pieces, completely missed everything, but he went into my back wheel. And I was just stationary because I'm like, you know what? If I move, I don't want to crush him. I don't want to roll over a body part or something. So I just hit the brakes and braced. I mean, it wasn't going to hurt my truck.
Oh, yeah.
So that happened. I see him get up and move away and limp away. And I pull over real quick and I run back. I'm like, dude, are you okay? Like, that's always my concern. Cars and trucks, that's the reason we buy insurance, folks, or pay for insurance.
Of course.
But he was limping out of there and dragging his bike out of there. I'm like, are you okay? And at the same time, it was a gas station on the corner. There was a gentleman who had already grabbed his phone. And I said, are you calling the cops? He said, yes. So I went back to my truck. There was a small, little, tiny 3-store plaza across the street. I pull my truck in at that plaza. And I go back across. I'm like, you all right? Let me get your information, blah, blah, blah. So I get his name and phone number, right? And that was it. I go back to the parking lot where the gentleman with the cell phone and the police, right, are there. So the police were there, and it was good, and we're talking with them. And I see the gentleman who called had a military backpack in his car, and I said, what branch are you in? I start talking, blah, blah, blah. I'm talking to him. I turn around and ask him another question. The parking lot of this plaza, I don't think has been paved in 30 years. There's a big rut. I pop my ankle. I am now rolling around on my back like a turtle. Right. There's people driving by to drop their kids off that I know. They're like, hey, what's Sean doing? Lying around in the dirt, rolling around like an idiot. Right. So, I get up and I'm embarrassed now and I'm rolling around because, again, this is like 7 a.m. I'm wearing a pair of sweatpants and a freaking sweatshirt. So I look like a slob. I'm rolling around in the dirt. It's cold out. And I'm not going to get into the rest of the situation because there's a lot of legalities involved. But there was, I got my license and registration back, and the gentleman with the scooter got a whole bunch of citations for things he wasn't doing right. And then all in all, it cost me right now, the total damage to my car is $42. So
that, which is amazing, that's it. Because just knowing how inflated prices are when it comes to parts and labor, it's like.
Well, you know what it was? He just hit the wheel.
Yeah.
So the little cap over the lug nuts, like, I don't know if it exploded or it's in his body still. I have no idea. But that little replacement was $42, and I was like, you know what? It's not even anywhere near my deductible. Fuck that. I'll just take care of it. Yes, you're right, Cody. I bet he won't because he limped his ass out of there, and it sucks. But yeah, so that sucks. So my truck had its first accident. It cost me $42, and that dude is still alive and hopefully learned a bit and will live to tell the tale.
I'm sure your reaction when you hit him was like, at first, like, oh shit, everything stopped, and then you're just thinking, damn boy, he's thick, boy, that's a thick ass boy, damn.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Hey, just so you know, that volume didn't come in well. I could barely hear that.
No, I know.
I can hear that.
It's just because of how I'm playing it back. It's fine.
Okay. I could hear the drum. I could hear the drums earlier. They came in loud and clear.
Totally.
So yeah.
Source.
So there's that, and I can wrap up my bullshit here with fishing. Chronic Trips is going. Today is day 7 of the first week. And honestly, I have everything up to yesterday in my little spreadsheet and taken care of. And then there's just been a flurry of activity today.
Yep.
So I'm not going to give an update today. We're going to start the updates next week because there's no point.
Yeah.
I get texts from Nate Shagnon. Nate, thank you for texting me. I appreciate that. You don't have to text me every inch you're catching. I'll see that. It's good. We're good. Now Nate's embarrassed. Sure. It's like, yeah. Oh yeah. He's off. I love Nate's enthusiasm. He gets fired up for this tournament.
He does. He gets super fired up.
Yeah. He's fired up. So keep the enthusiasm coming, Nate, and have a good time out there. But yeah, it's a battle on ice. Nelson, Nate, Nate's buddy John, and I think there's 1 or 2 more people that are in there that are popping fish in through the ice.
Yep.
I don't think I've seen anything huge yet, but the numbers are going, so people are catching fish. And so that's it. My Chronic Trips update is not an update. Is that okay to say?
Yeah. No. It's good because sometimes no news is fine. You know what I mean? Like if there's nothing to report. So
I'll have a little lengthier update next week. We'll talk about this weekend, what's been going up to that point. But it's like seriously, people are out on the ice right now, just popping fish in. There's no point because I could say something and it's invalid in 30 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. So, no, I think that's the best way to kind of do it. We'll give people the most up to date stuff that we can as soon as possible. So I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So Cody's got some suggestions for us, I see.
He does. Yeah. So he said earlier for tournaments, he says, do like the Blue Water guys. Biggest bass is the main prize, then do Calcuttas on the other species. That's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea.
I think we should put it to the poll.
Let's do that. Yeah. I will say this much. I really, really like borrowing from the Chronic Trips tournament, the point system, because then based on different areas in different regions competing against each other and even different species, we can involve that much more and sort of even the playing field a little bit for everybody based on what they're doing. I mean, the primary focus, I think, really with our tournaments is more fun and engagement, and then anything that's competitive that comes out of it is just going to kind of be gravy. It's like somebody wins some cash, somebody wins some great prizes, something like that. That's the other thing too. Like, what do we want to do for this? Do we want to do a money bag for the for the prize, or do we want to just take that and then roll it into items and then give away more prizes and do that?
I don't know. I don't know.
We have some polling to do.
Yeah, we do. But it's fine. We've got until May. I mean, that's when we're rolling our first one out, right?
So, yeah, that's the plan. It'll be nice.
Until then, jump on the Chronic Trips, folks, because it's nationwide. It's available. Have a good time.
Yeah.
I mean, we do.
It'll be a great way. Great way to kind of get involved and take listen to this fishing podcast. And now you're actually competing against other listeners of the fishing podcast. I think it'd be freaking super cool. Whole lot of fun. So this is great, man. Let's go ahead. Do you have anything else that you want to jump in or throw in here? Because we're going to record the outro shortly after, once we wrap this up. But in our next segment, our interview segment, we've got Rachel Walka, who is one of the Hooks at Hoodlums pro staffers, just a badass angler all around. She had the artwork for this episode. I ask all of our guests to submit a picture of a giant, that I can use for the artwork so that they get a little visual representation right from the get-go before anybody even listens to anything. And I kind of put my artistic spin on it and whatnot. And I had a blast talking with Rachel. We talked for just about 2 hours, if not even a little bit more. All kinds of good stuff. And the conversation would have just kept going and going and going and going and going. And she's awesome. But when I asked her for a picture, she said, I'm just going to send you a bunch of my favorites and you pick whatever one you want. And don't tell me what it is, just surprise me. So I think I did pretty well with it. I used a poll feature on Instagram to see what everybody thought. And then I messed up and I named them each the same thing. I sent that out to a bunch of people. I had to hide it on there so that she didn't see it, how the vote was going. So we got our results, so we're good to go. But we had a great conversation. So I'm excited.
Awesome.
Great. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get to it. We'll be back with our interview segment right after this short message from Three Bells Outfitters. Jigs and Bigs is proud to announce that we're being supported by Three Bells Outfitters. Located in Smith Cove on the Niantic River, TBO is Connecticut's premier paddle sports retailer. They're a full-service shop specializing in kayaks and paddleboards for everything from recreation to tournament fishing. Three Bells is an authorized dealer of Hobie, Jackson, Feel Free, Native, and Bonafide kayaks, as well as many paddleboard brands. Not sure of what kind of SUP or kayak you want? TBO offers free demos of all brands. Want to go for an extended test drive? They have a full-service rental facility on site. Three Bells also offers a complete rigging service for your kayak with such brands as Yak Attack, Yak Gear, Burley Pro, Yak Power, Torpedo, and more. The sky is the limit. You can visit Three Bells Outfitters in person or online at threebellsoutfitters.com. They ship anywhere in the lower 48 states or order online and pick up at the store. Can't make it to the store to pick up your kayak or worried the freight company might damage your purchase? Three Bells Outfitters offers a white glove delivery of kayaks within a 225-mile radius of their store at a rate less than typical freight carriers. They will deliver your kayak, set it up, and answer any questions you may have. Be sure to follow them on Facebook and Instagram. Don't forget to tell them Jigs and Bigs sent you. Three Bells Outfitters, because life is better on the water.
Bobby Roast Beef, Sean the Fisherman, it's Sparky True Nibbler Lipper here. I just want to say, y'all motherfuckers are the best. Keep killing the game out here. Can't wait for next Tuesday, man.
Hey everybody, it is Bobby Roast Beef and it is interview time. We've got a great segment here lined up. I've been actually looking forward to doing this interview for a while. I have Rachel Walka with me, and you may have seen her on the gram, as the kids call it, RJW _ my marine world. I had spoken a couple of times briefly through DM with Rachel here and there, and then out of the blue, she pops up as a new pro staff for Hooks at Hoodlums, one of my favorite little families of anglers. And welcome to the fam, Rachel. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much. Hooks at Hoodlums, they really threw me for a loop and a surprise. I had been following them for a short period of time, to be very honest with you. And as soon as I did start following them, one of the first things I actually did was call my mom and say, Ma, I want to like be a part of them. I want to show people who they are and what they're all about. And I kind of just kept following them, and I bought the first hat, the green one with the underwater robberies.
Oh yeah.
On underwater. Yeah. The underwater robberies, right? Underwater heist, robbing banks, and I forget exactly what it says now. And I use it all the time with everything.
Yep.
But I bought that hat and I started wearing it, and every time I wore it, somebody's like, wow, that hat is fantastic. That hat is fantastic. And I was like, if you think the hat is fantastic, you need to see them.
Yeah.
I said, you need to see who they are, because it's not just the hat. And the reason why the hat is so fantastic is because it's just an amazing trio of people.
Yeah.
So thank you for welcoming me.
Yeah.
And I thank them for also accepting me into being part of their family. Because as we all know, blood doesn't always make family.
It's true.
So it's pretty amazing to meet some people, new and old, that can really show you love for something and show you appreciation for something as well.
Yeah. I agree 100%. Though, I mean, those guys are amazing. Like they have a great product, but like we have become close friends through this whole thing. And like as the pro staff gets larger, it's not a traditional pro staff. This is like really, these are great folks that, you know, I'm hoping that 2021 is going to be amazing. We have such good stuff planned. And I love it when there's the pro staff are in, you know, along the East Coast, because it makes it accessible to get together and fish together and do like, you know, content creation stuff together and collaborate. It's really, really awesome. So let's get to know you as an angler. I know that you had mentioned that you have a background in marine biology. I'm curious to see how that kind of came into play. But tell me about like how you were first introduced to fishing. Who was it that introduced the sport or the pastime to you? And then how is it that you've gotten to the point now where you've, you know, I would say you're on the road to really kind of becoming a I don't want to say like a social media like presence per se, but you're putting quite a bit out there. You've got a great little following going, and like looking at some of your catches, you kind of know what's up.
Well, yeah, you know, I'm trying to make my dad proud, honestly, and my mom too, because every time I'm on the water and I'm not having like a good vibe, first thing I do is call my mom. I say, Mom, or I text my mom, Mom, start praying for me. And seriously, as soon as I do that, it's like, okay, here's a little fish, whatever size it is. But when I was a little girl, my parents used to take me and my sisters fishing. I'm actually the youngest of three girls. My oldest sister really never came much with us, but my middle sister and I always used to go. And we would go to Lake Opakon and Lake Assapink, and we would sit at the shore, try to catch some of the sunnies. And we would always like bother the ones that were in the bed. But of course, at that time, I didn't realize what was going on. And my father would tell us to stay away, but we just needed to catch a fish.
Exactly.
So we would do it, you know, we would do that. And, like probably every other weekend, my dad was pretty busy with work. My mom was home. So it was kind of just one of those things that we would do to kind of reconnect and be together on the water. And I remember my first bass was actually at Lake Assapink, and I was reeling that in. And I was probably like 8 or 9. And I mean, back then there was no cameras like there are now. So there's no picture of it. And I always say to my mom, like, where's my picture? And there's nothing to show it, but I was cranking that thing in. And honestly, like in comparison to the largemouth bass I catch now, it's probably only like 2 pounds, if that, you know?
Oh, yeah.
But I thought it was the biggest thing. It was the best thing in the whole wide world.
Coolest feeling ever, especially at that age, you know?
Oh my goodness. It was so exciting.
Yeah.
So I used to always actually watch Discovery Channel with my dad. And I mean, I would say this was in the 80s. So it was when there was actual shows and footages, and there was actually people on boats with field guides in their hand, not a computer or anything like that. And we were watching this one show, and this gentleman's name came up, and underneath his name said marine biologist. And I looked at my dad. I said, Dad, that's going to be me someday. He said, okay, Ray. And that was kind of it. And then I went through high school, and I took extra science classes in high school. I kind of always was at the water, at the beach, and whatever it may be.
Yep.
But I'm in North Jersey, so I didn't always have that accessibility.
Yeah.
And then my parents split up, and at that time, like, it was there was a lot going on. So I kind of fell out of the world of fishing and water and what have you. So I had gone to Stockton College, and I actually went in under my major, marine biology. And about my sophomore year, I was like, what am I going to do with this? I don't know what I'm going to do with this, but I always wanted to do it. So I got to do it now, right?
Oh, definitely.
So I was taking all my classes, and I got my degree. And after I got my degree, I realized that it's almost a nomadic type of gypsy life. Mm-hmm. And I knew I wanted to have a family and have a sense of home. So I decided to go a different career path. And then back in 2018, I had a lot of stuff going on at home. Mm-hmm. And I also got a chance to run the New York City Marathon.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
And so it's probably only 4 years now. This will be my 4th season out on the water again, where I've really been out there as much as I can, March through November. But I realized how much I needed to be back on the water and by the water. And I realized how much it did for me.
Yes.
And my doctor actually even says, Rachel, I need you to run less and fish more. And I'm like, well, that's not going to work because they both do different things for me. And he's like, no, you don't understand. Like, you need to fish more. So I have been learning. I have been trying. I have been trying to get out as much as I can. I try to take my son with me, but he does not like to go out at 5 a.m. and stay out till 6 p.m. So that doesn't always work out.
That sounds like a great day to me.
Yeah, it's he'll come out and he'll catch one fish and he's like, okay, can we go yet? And I'm like, well, wait, like the day just started,
Yeah.
So that's really how I got into it. My parents would take us, and then I just would watch it on TV with my dad all the time, like literally every night. That was kind of what we did together. And it was just that gentleman's name that day. He had the field book in his hand, and it's a marine biologist. And my dream was actually to go to Australia and find the giant squid. That's what I actually wanted to do. But my father was not having that. And he's like, well, what am I going to read about you in a history book someday? And I'm like, yeah, well, how great would that be?
That'd be amazing.
If I found it, like, whatever, like, that's awesome. Like, then that's your last name in a book, Dad. But it didn't work out as planned, so to speak. But being a part of Hookset Hoodlums, and this year I'm actually going to be doing the lady series, Slay Nation. So
that's awesome.
I told... Yeah. So what's so cool about it is the fact that, like, my last name will be on the back of my shirt. So I said to my dad, I said, see, I told you someday I would do something with marine biology. It's coming. Don't worry. Like, just give it some time. Just give it some time, So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what the future holds and brings. But I am definitely looking forward to this year. I'm definitely looking forward to out fishing you, Delirious Angler, Wild Bill, underwater robberies.
So that's awesome.
Wheeling in life, Andrew. Don't worry, you boys are going down, but that's okay. That's a whole other segment, right?
That's awesome. So I'm going to make the assumption that means that you're 100% in for this. So you've heard about the hot sauce challenge we did last fall, right?
So I don't know how much truth there is to the parts of the stories that I've heard, but all I said is I know that I am not going to have to consume that at all. And then they said, well, you better not win. So now I'm like, oh boy, I don't know what this is supposed to mean. So I'm not so sure if I want to be involved in any kind of challenge of that sort.
It's so much fun.
Because, wait, Bobby, what's not fair is you guys will know everything that you're fishing, and I'm going to come in blind, but somehow I'm still going to win. I know it.
Well, so what's interesting is this, is that day, the only one who ever had fished that pond before was Delirious. And because I think Andrew, Joel, and Bill had never fished, and I had never fished. I've only fished in Connecticut a handful of times. And so we had gone to that water, and it was It was my team that ended up winning with Andrew and Joel on my team. But what ended up happening, and this is why I think Boats and Scroats is going to be ridiculous, but with the hot sauce challenge, it was just Delirious and Bill that were supposed to eat chips with Da Bomb. But I kind of felt like, I owed them one because, I didn't contribute anything to my team winning. I caught a pick roll that didn't count for anything, so that was it, So, and I'm also experienced with that hot sauce as well, and it just went downhill fast. Everybody decided to get in on it. It was just, hey, you guys sure you don't want to try this? Oh, yeah, sure, we'll try it. And then you have like 5 guys buckled over in pain at the parking lot at the ramp. Like this neighbor is looking at us like, what is wrong with those men? What's going on?
Oh, my goodness, yeah.
And
I don't know if I heard all the details, but I know I need to stay far away from that hot sauce because I will not end well for me either.
So we are not going to do the hot sauce. I mean, it's already been done. It's water under the bridge. But we are. So Boats and Scroats is a similar challenge. And I love food challenges. And Boats and Scroats is going to be a challenge where we're basically going to gather a group of folks on a single body of water. And what I'm trying to do is find somebody like a local business, like maybe a food truck or something, to make this happen so that we can give them a good plug all over social media and on the podcast and everything else. But we want them to make Rocky Mountain oysters. Which, are you familiar with Rocky Mountain oysters and what they are?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they are fried bull testicles. And the losing team would then have to, eat the Rocky Mountain oysters that were served up. But I know everybody's going to be like, well, I might as well try them, And it'll just be a big party.
Yeah, that always happens, right?
Yep, exactly. And that's kind of what we're looking to do this time around. And it was just we came up with a bunch of different names, and Boats and Scroats is the one that won out. We're just like, it's perfect. We got to just run with it. So. Oh goodness, man! Now, it sounds like
a good challenge because I'm going to win, so I'm not going to have to worry about it.
You wouldn't have to worry about a damn
I might
thing.
be one of those people that wants to have to just try it just because everybody else is doing it.
And then at that point, the only thing you have to blame is your own curiosity, And it's like, you can at least say you've lived life at that moment, if nothing else.
Yeah, you can, right? That's for sure.
So, that
is for sure.
As far as like when you're out fishing and everything, so you're hooking up with Slay Nation, which is awesome. I mean, Slay Nation's a great organization. Is now with that, is it by state where they have individual trails, or is it like regions that cross over?
So they do have one in New Jersey, but I had just gotten a native back in November at the end of fishing season.
Nice.
So it will be my first year or first season, I should say, on the kayak. So I didn't want to jump into something too much without like wetting my feet first.
Yep.
So I'm in the Lady Slayers one, which is completely online. And I think there's
that's awesome.
6, if I remember. Yeah, if I remember it correctly, there's 6 weekends that you have to fish. It's basically 1 weekend a month, and you only have to do 1 out of the 2 days.
That's cool.
Or you could do both days, whatever you choose to do. So yeah, it works out. And you want to hear the craziest thing?
What's that?
So the craziest part about this is that my birthday is September 5th. The New Jersey Trail on September 5th, because my understanding is I could fish on any of the trails if I wanted to on the dates that they're doing it, if it corresponds with what I'm doing.
Yep.
It's actually at Lake Assapink, which is where I caught my first bass when I was a little girl.
How amazing is that? That's like,
is that not the craziest thing?
Yeah. Like you have to make sure that you're available for that one. That's amazing.
I know. I actually thought it was an absolute joke when I saw it, and I was like, wait, is this for real? And I did a double check, and then I tripled and then quadrupled, and I'm like, yeah, this is the real deal. Like, this is what's going on here. So yeah, I mean, it is insane. I haven't been there for a very long time, so I would like to get down there prior to, but it's an online. So I could actually use my kayak, I could shore fish, or I could go out with anybody that I normally go out with on one of their boats or whatever. It'll just all be through the app and nothing where I weigh in or anything like that at the end of the day. So
that's awesome.
So it'd be interesting.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. Watch, I have a prediction. I'm going to throw this out there now. An official Bobby roast beef prediction. You're going to take the lunker on that weekend at Assapink. You're going to take the lunker. I got a feeling. I have a feeling.
You do?
Yeah, I don't know why. It's amazing. I got a feeling. That time of year is going to be amazing for kayak fishing. It just is. I mean, with something like that going along, my birthday is actually the 12th of September. And the championship for the elite kayak fishing, the new KBF, it's like a program series. It kind of covers a bunch of different areas, a lot of large water. And I think there's one of the dates I think it got rescheduled in Jersey. There was one that was in Jersey, but these are like huge bodies of water. The championship is that weekend of my birthday, and it's up in Lake Champlain, which I have always wanted to fish Lake Champlain. I never have. My father has a few times, and I'm thinking I'm thinking that this year, if I'm able to make it happen, I'd like to take him up there and fish, and just I'm not competing. I'm going there to cover the event and do some fun fishing.
Yeah, but still, that would be so amazing just to be there for your birthday weekend. Yep. And oh my goodness,
that's what I'm kind of hoping for. So that time, but kayak fishing as a whole is exploding. And I mean, some of that does have to do with the pandemic, that's going on and people getting out on the water and things. But you see people now, they get into bass fishing and lots of times I think people will start out on the bank and then they kind of hit a brick wall and they're like, this is really fun, but and maybe they're not in a circle of friends that have access to boats or anything like that. But when you're talking about fishing in a kayak, if you can, even just store your change for, a few years in a jar somewhere, and save up that way, and just you can get into a kayak, reasonably, and then it totally changes your access, your ability to get out there and kind of create these new adventures. So kayak fishing is a sport all by itself. Within the sport of bass fishing, I think is really just starting to blossom and take off. And I'm pretty excited for it.
Yeah. I'm pretty independent.
Yep.
So I was starting to this season lose a little patience and ground, so to speak, with waiting to have somebody invite me to come on the water, or
I've been there.
Go when I could go. And there were days that I wanted to go that other people couldn't go. And, I just, like you said, when you're on the bank, sometimes it's just not the same once you start getting out on the open water.
Yeah.
And I just said to myself, I need something that is feasible and flexible for me, that I could put in the back of my truck and I could just go when I want, for how long I want, and where I want. The difference too is, if you have a friend that you go out with and fish with, or friends, or whatever the case may be, they're in control. They go where they want to go. So they could say a million times, "Hey, Rach, where do you want to go?" And I know where I want to go, but I know where I want to go is not where they want to go. But I know that's where I want to be right now at that moment.
Yep.
And I'm really, really excited and looking forward to having that freedom of being me, my own angler, with my own decisions of where I want to fish and how long I want to fish and how far away I want to be from something. There's so many things that are playing in my mind about it. And I am really, really looking forward to having that. And I do see a lot of people with kayaks, like you said. I think it is a lot to do with the pandemic. But I just hope that whoever is doing it for the right reasons, in the sense of not just doing it and for no reason, and doing it because they start to love something more than just to just get out there. I would only hope that it could bring more people into light of how much fishing can really do for the soul and the body. I think that's the most important thing. And that's what I'm really looking forward to. Being in my own space, in my own mind, in my own time, on the kayak is sometimes a little overwhelming in the thought process of it, but I cannot wait to get it out on the water. That's for sure.
Oh yeah. It's you're going to absolutely love it. You're going to love it. Now, as far as when you do go out, is there as far as the particulars of what you like, what's your favorite season to be out there fishing? I know you said you fish primarily March to November. What's your, what do you really look forward to during that window?
It's so hard to say, because when I look back now, as I'm bringing stuff over to my RJW_ my marine world, I look at the different fish and how many species I catch at certain times of the year. So this year I did spend a lot of time trying to catch largemouth bass. I really was hopeful that I would catch one at least 5 pounds, but 4.75 was and is my current PB, which I'll take in New Jersey for sure. But I was really primarily trying to target them. But looking back on my pictures, like, I was like, wow, like in March, and like October, like in the early spring and I would say like the middle towards the end of fall, like I start looking at the perch that I was catching and some of the crappie, like they were huge and the perch are just so beautiful. And I get so excited when I catch a perch. I love largemouth bass. But when I catch a perch and I just see the color coming at me through the water, it is just so amazing. And they're just so beautiful and they're so vibrant. So I do like those two seasons for that reason, but I definitely love the warm weather. I love the sun, and mixing it out with the water. And I know some people that are largemouth bass anglers, they're like, oh, well, the sun and the heat are two things that kind of don't go with those fish. But I think that's kind of what makes me like them too, or I should say, meaning when I say like them, I mean the sun and the heat, to try to find the fish where they are. Because to me, fishing is not always necessarily about catching something. If you ask anybody I go out with catching fish, they don't like to talk to me until I catch a fish, because I kind of go into like
your
silent mode.
Yeah.
It's pretty focused. Yeah. I mean, that's a nice way of saying it. Thank you. Because I could use that moving forward. But I think especially that time of year, like I like the challenge of trying to find that fish. And not just, is it nice to go out there and catch fish after fish after fish and be able to land them? I mean, yes, it's a beautiful feeling. It's a great feeling. But sometimes we also need to be humbled, so to speak, and say, man, where are these fish? Like, we need to find them. You know, it's not just about always catching all of them and hundreds of them at one time. So every season really does something different for me. But if I had to choose one, I would definitely probably say the summer, just because I love being outside. I love the warm air, and I just love the sun. Probably more than I should, but I do love it.
Oh, yeah. Well, and, you know, that's the other thing, too. It's like, you know, the heat of the summer, you know, for me, when I'm going out fishing, a lot of it, especially you get into those months of like, you know, mid-July through August, a lot of it for me is just, let's just get out there as early as possible. Like you want to be up at sunup. I want to be putting the kayak in 10 minutes before the sun's about to come up and just start paddling out, you know? And I feel like those are great days. But then when that sun is just up and overhead, and, you know, that's where I like to say it's like about the end of the day, but it's like, my favorite days are the ones where I catch one, you know, and I really had to work for it. Those are my favorite days. The ones I remember the most. Like, do I remember, like, you know, catching, you know, 15 or 16 in, you know, a few hours with my buddies in, you know, early April? Yeah, of course I remember that. It was a blast. But you hear these stories sometimes about people that are just like, oh, well, you know, keep casting into these one spots. And they were just like stacked up. And we just like every single, you know, cast, there's a fish. You know, you're catching something. It's like some were big, most were dinks, whatever. And it's you hear the saying when they say it's almost obnoxious to keep catching them like that. And, you know, I can remember for a lot of time, I thought that was bullshit. I was like, no way. Like, just catching that many fish has just got to be amazing. But no, it's like you kind of want that back and forth. You know, you kind of want to have to find them. And it's two parts. It's putting together the puzzle, and then also the prize of when you connect with a good fish and you land them. Then you're like, I had to work my ass off for this. It's like, it's even better, you know.
It's definitely a good feeling. Like, I know sometimes, like, I go back and I look at my camera roll the next day, and I'll be like, wow, there was 4 hours between those two fish. And like, if somebody would have told me that when I was on the water, there's no way that I was out there for 4 hours. And I'm like, you look at the timestamp and you say, wow. And it just, those are the days that seem to be the best days for me too, because I just clear so much of everything in that moment and don't even realize that so much time has passed by. You know, it's amazing.
Is there like a specific style of body of water that you like better? Like, are you more about pond hopping, like, you know, smaller ponds that you can break down? Are you looking for larger lakes? Or there are, and I've learned this over time, that there are just people who they need to have current. So river systems they're all about it.
Yeah, no, right now I've primarily been in ponds. I will go to some of the riverbanks, and I live like literally 10 minutes from New York City. So I have the Meadowlands by me, which there is an area where I should really be catching stripers, but for some reason I've had no luck. But I'm hearing of a few good spots that I'm going to be able to get into with my kayak moving forward. So I'm hoping that now with my kayak, it's going to give me that flexibility and freedom to go where I want to go, not to go where somebody invites me to go.
Do you ever get on any smallmouth out in your area?
I have not.
If you like the sun and the heat, I'll tell you what, the best smallmouth days I've ever had have been like the worst bass fishing days. Like they've been bright blue skies, super hot, and it's just, I don't know, it's just anytime I've been fishing, especially in like, there's a couple of rivers locally where I've been out and it's been just a bright sunny day, they just seem to love it. I don't know what it is. But it might be.
Yeah, I'm going to try this. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
It might be one of those things that works for you, too. And I mean, smallmouth are special. I love them.
Yeah, I've never caught one. I've heard so much about them. And there is an area that I know of that there's it's an abandoned parking lot now. But it's in like a safer, so to speak, area.
Yep.
So I saw the other day, last weekend, actually, that the water was really flowing over there because most of the water over here, which I'm sure by you too, is frozen over, or part of it's frozen over, or whatever the case may be. Whatever you could get to, you're not going to fish from, but it's not frozen enough to go out far enough to get anything either.
Exactly.
So for me, anyway, where I am, but there is this one area where I know I've caught. Up the river a little bit upstream, so to speak, I had caught a few pike and stuff up there.
That's awesome.
But that area is not as accessible. So this area is a little more accessible. And I've never really seen many people over there. So I'm going to try it. I don't know if they're not over there because they don't know about it, or they're not over there because they're not catching anything over there. But
true.
We might be onto something.
Yeah.
We don't know. We got to see.
Yeah, that's exactly
Time will
it.
tell.
You got it. You got to at least try it. At least then you know. It's better to be a knower than a guesser. That's what I say.
Yes.
What would be like your top handful of confidence baits? Like, what are the things that if it's getting tough, you're going to throw these and you've got the confidence to back you up, or something that you're like, I'm definitely going to be throwing this just because it'll get the job done.
All right, so don't laugh at me because everybody that I say this to laughs at me, but it is like my literal absolute go-to. Finesse fishing.
Yeah. Okay.
On my Lose Mach 2 spinner.
Yep. Love that reel.
Blockhead offset. Use those?
No.
Blockhead offset.
Oh
my goodness.
I'm gonna have to look that up.
Amazing.
Tell me about them. I'm gonna Google them.
I am going to tell you about them. I have a stash of them because they paired with the Z-Man Big Turd.
Oh.
Amazing. Yes. So I am obsessed with the Ned rig.
Gotcha.
Absolutely obsessed with the Ned rig. It has caught me every single one of those variety and species of fish that you've seen on my page. Yep. I have caught with the Ned rig. I have caught those fish with other stuff too. But I will tell you that owner blockhead offset, I actually use 3/16 ounce 1/0 hook.
Are they
amazing?
Are they lead?
I would have to look at a package.
I think they probably are. That's the biggest thing I'm looking
almost
for.
Positive they probably are. You're not a lead person.
It's not even me. It's just in Massachusetts, it's prohibited. So
you might be beat.
Yeah, it's crazy. So like, the lifted jigs. I mean, I love Owner's products. I think Owner makes great stuff. But I'm looking at that. I'm like, damn, that's exactly what I need. I need to find like a tungsten or even a bismuth or I got a Ken from Lead Free Bass Jigs. This is your moment to shine.
Yeah.
Hook a brother up. He does bismuth pouring. And what we do our jigs are the Jigs and Bigs from the Jig Kit using a style of jig that he puts together. And you're absolutely like, I love a Ned rig. The one thing that I'm looking for with a Ned is a weedless presentation. So I've tried.
So
I've tried a bunch.
That is why I use those, because I will tell you the only reason why I have ever lost one of those was because I got bit off by a pike. Because I don't target them, so I don't use a leader or anything of that nature. So I'm very lucky to land the ones that I do land. If I do land them, because normally it's a problem. But I will tell you, those hooks amazing. Like, honestly, no offense to Z-Man because I use many of their other products. But I've used theirs and they just did not work out. These, I mean, the weedless presentation of them, everything, they are just on point, and 100%.
You're 100% right. Like, they get bit by everything. Every single fish out there can take down a Ned rig, with like a TRD or even a piece of a Senko, will do the job. They will work, and sometimes it's like the lack of action. But yeah, you're 100% right. It's a great, and I know like there's a. Let's be honest. When it comes to the bass fishing world, like power fishing is like, that's the sexy fishing. That's like the sports car of fishing. Finesse fishing is kind of more like, no, let's change it. Okay. Let's change that analogy a little bit. Power fishing is like the flashy martial arts, and finesse fishing is more like Tai Chi. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I love it. I love it. And I do really well with it. Like I'm starting to feel pretty confident with a drop shot these days, and a Ned rig is right in that same boat, it's just killer. So
in 2019, I was using the drop shot all the time with the Kitech, but I was catching a lot of crappie with that. So because I wanted to move on to other species, which is why I had tried the Ned rig. And I think the reason that finesse fishing is working so well for me is because I'm high speed. So I always say, like, I'm running full speed on E. I'm always on empty, but I'm always going to push myself to go. So finesse fishing is that time for me to slow down.
Yeah.
But yet feel so rewarded at the end.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, I started frog fishing this past season and I bought a setup for it and I brought it out twice and it has sat in my house since. I know some people would probably laugh and say, wow, what is wrong with this girl? The rush from that is almost like too much for me because that's my life all the time.
Yeah.
So for me, the finesse style is, it just opens like this part of me that I can't explain to people, but I did get my first bait caster, this last birthday.
Nice.
Actually, and I got my second one for Christmas, both from my son.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so
that's a good
I'm
kid
getting
right there.
into bait casting. Yeah, he knows what to do. He knows what to do in order to keep himself out of trouble. That's for sure. And I have been recently, at the end of the season, I started using Aaron's baits. I'm not so sure if you've ever heard of them.
I don't think I've ever heard of those.
But I started using the 4-inch wag in backwater candy.
Okay.
Which is like a purplish, it almost looks like cotton candy colors. It's like a purplish, pinkish, and blue color together.
Oh, okay. Cool.
And I do have a bad habit of picking lures based off their color. And I don't always go by what maybe the fish are biting. And this goes back to the whole summer thing with me.
Yep.
You could ask your good friend Delirious about green pumpkin and me. I know the fish are going to eat it. I know the fish are going to love it. I know the fish are going to bite it.
Sure.
But that's not the name of my game.
Yeah.
I want them to see something different. I want them to see something new. I want to throw something that everybody else isn't throwing.
Yeah. And that's
really
a strategy. That's a real, that's legit, Sean the fisherman says it all the time. He'll go to a pond that he's never been at. And what he likes to say is the fish in that pond have not seen my brand of bullshit. Like you can, and there's a legitimate argument to be made with that.
Yeah. So I'm definitely looking forward to setting up my, bait casters with those. I did use them down in the meadows, but at one point I got stuck in the rock. It was so windy out and I should have known better, but it was just one of those, well, let's just do it anyway.
Yeah, you got to give it a full second.
But I am looking forward to using them and hopefully catching something big with those. With actually Bobby roast beef, I have to tell you, my first order with that underwater robberies hat from Hooks at Hoodlums.
Wacky Worms?
Okay. Oh. The one that says robbing banks and underwater heist.
Yep.
I got a little note in there that promised me my PB. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I'm familiar with that note.
So
I'll make good on that note. Go on.
You know what? Literally keep saying I cannot wait to rob banks with Aaron's bait. So it's literally Hookset and Aaron. And if those two don't mesh, we're going to have a problem because I have that note that's promising me my new PB when I wear that hat.
So I've got a good story about Hookset Hoodlums products and my PB. There was a day, my PB is, and I started just last year. I still weigh fish, but I'm weighing them more because I'm a big replica guy. Like it's kind of like how I want to sort of create this story of mine of PBs. So I've got a number, and it's 19 3/4 inches is my PB currently. I've tied it this year at least once, maybe twice. I haven't broken it though. Once I get to that 20, I'm measuring that fish from all angles, weighing that fish, getting as many pictures as possible, letting it go, and then getting a replica done, so I can have it hanging on the disco dungeon wall down here, showing off, my accomplishments. So there was this one day I was out fishing with one of the resident jig heads, Tim Jacks. And Tim's got this beautiful bass boat, and he invites me every so often to go out with him. And we were fishing the Connecticut River not too far from where I am right now. And we were out initially early in the morning. We were looking for smallies. We get out, and we're looking for largemouth a little further down by this marina. And it had to have been like 98, 99 degrees. It was so hot. And I'm wearing this black Hook hoodie. And I'm just like, I should have brought more water with me. It was like, I was seeing like waves and he was the same way. Like this was probably about like 2:30 in the afternoon. So the sun is like right on top of us. We're just frying. And it got to this point where we finally found some grass, and I decided I was going to work the grass lines around the edges. And I decided just out of the blue, I would throw a drop shot. Because they weren't really biting anything that was moving. We weren't really having any luck on anything. It was all really, super finessey and deep. So I throw a drop shot out, and I have on there a 1/0 straight an offset, traditional like a worm hook. And what I was using was one of the wild worms from Hookset Hoodlums, the original green and gold fleck. And I popped that on there, and I just kind of spaced out. I just let it dead stick in the water and just kind of go with the current and do its thing. And I completely had like disconnected from my own mind, thinking of like where, from my position on that boat at that time. And I get the biggest tug on that line, and it was this absolute monster. 19 3/4 inch, had a big chunk of its tail taken off by a pike. And I mean, absolute beauty. And I set that, and I remember when I posted, I tagged Hookset Hoodlums, like I tagged them in most of my pictures, and they were just like, that's what the hell I'm talking about. I was like, on a freaking wild worm, man. I cannot believe it.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So did you get that note in your package too? Or you just got lucky and used their product and caught it? Oh, you got the note.
Yeah, that note was in there.
I better hold on to that note.
I would. Yeah. I mean, I don't,
I better carry it with me.
Yeah. I'm not saying anything, but I think there's something about the combination of that stuff. Maybe it's just like, I'm a big believer in mojo. It's like, certain things that you just do. You do these the same way. Like I have certain hats that I wear when I fish, and I'm like, yep, that's what this is. I don't care how nasty and faded it gets from the sun. Nope, this is what we're going fishing with, and this is what we're going to use, and just how I work.
Yeah, I'm the same way with stuff like that, and I'm a creature of habit. So, if something works one time, I feel like I need to bring it the next time. If something doesn't work, I'm like, maybe this is a jinx and I shouldn't bring it with me, you know? And then I'll like test the water like a few weeks later and I don't catch something again. I'm like, this one's going to stay on my wall. Like this is not working. I could wear it out in public, but not on the water.
Definitely. Let's jump ahead a little bit. There's this one question that I love to ask all the guests that are on here, and it's got to do with ridiculous tackle trends. You're probably familiar with that saying that fishing tackle is designed to catch more fishermen than it's actually supposed to catch fish. In your lifetime, what do you think is the most ridiculous fishing tackle trend that's kind of come out? And the follow-up is, have you been guilty of trying it, and did it work?
I would say I do not go with any trends. I usually don't go with the flow. Even like I said to you, just as something as simple as green pumpkin, I don't even use that. My father raised us to not rely on anybody or anything or anybody's own thoughts but our own. So sometimes I'm a little hard-headed when it comes to stuff like that. So I would say the trends were not really used by me.
Yep.
I kind of go against it. And then if somebody says to me, oh, you shouldn't be using that, of course I'm going to use it even more.
Exactly. Because you want to prove them wrong, right?
I do. And that's really my thing. I don't really know because most of the people I fish with don't really go with a trend, honestly. So it'd be hard for me to even say. I don't get caught up in trying to see that or look at that or even involve myself in it because I don't even go that route when it comes to anything with what I do with fishing at all.
Definitely. No, I get that. I can definitely get that. Now, I'm a huge believer in like going out and going fishing is one thing. And, you know, fishing alone is probably one of the most zen-like moments a human can have on earth, you know, being out there in whatever elements on your own by yourself. But I do think that there is an extremely large amount of value in the fishing experience when it's a communal sort of gathering, like when you have a group of people getting together, like the hot sauce challenge or the Scroats and Boats that's soon to come, stuff like that. So I kind of developed this question out of the belief of that. What list me 3 people that you would love to fish with, just to share the experience with. They can be living or dead. They can be from any sort of position in the world. It doesn't matter.
Okay, so first and foremost, my father.
Yep.
I keep saying to him, I wish I could get him back out on the water now. But unfortunately with his disabilities and his health, he wouldn't be able to do that. But I kind of wish I could relive the moments that I had with him when I was younger, because as much as I appreciated the time, I didn't realize how much that time meant. And I would love for him to be able to see that and experience that with me all over again, because I do send him pictures. But my father still has a flip phone. So he's very, very specific on how I take the picture and how far away the fish is and what it is. And I caught this huge pike. It was literally from my head, probably to my ankles. And that's how he explained it to me. And he's like, I can't believe how big that is. And I'm like, my goodness, Daddy, if only you had a real phone. So I would love for him to be out there. To show him, like, look, you don't have to cast free and me anymore, Dad. Look, I still do get stuck in the tree sometimes. You know, these things still happen, Dad. Like, I'm still not perfect. And I mean, in the same regard, I know it would be a second person, but I don't want to use it as a second person. But my mom, she's been so supportive of me moving forward with fishing.
That's the best. And
like has always been there and has been encouraging. And she was actually just diagnosed with breast cancer back in June. And she finally had her surgery in January and is actually going for a second one tomorrow. Like she's always there. And I mean, literally always encouraging me. And when I'm on the water, I told you earlier in our conversation, that if I'm not catching anything, I'll text her, say, Mommy, pray for me, you know, and she says a prayer, she says something and it's like, boom, here's a fish. So those 2 people would, if I could, I mean, they're not together, but I would love to have a combination of them together just to relive childhood memory.
Sure.
Would be pretty sweet. That's for sure. The second person I have to say is Ashley from Riverwise Fishing. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
Oh, yeah.
That's Riverwise Fishing's wife.
Yeah.
She has been the kindest soul with whom I've connected. And obviously their brand Riverwise, right? Everything is RW. So
it's perfect.
What started out as a joke of me wearing RW turned into a pretty sweet relationship with an incredible woman, an incredible mother, a wife, hard worker, you know, at the same time, then she comes home to help her husband with the lures and the baits and all these things, but yet still is working and taking care of the house and the girls that they have and stuff like that. So
awesome.
I would love to be able to actually fish with her and just give her some woman time, you know, separate from what she goes through in life. And the third person I would say is Sarah. Her tag is the Ansi Angler, and she's out in Colorado. And I met her through this little bit of a community, and she actually had won my Christmas giveaway. And
that's awesome.
It's so funny because whenever she posts stuff on her story, you know, and thanking me and this and that, I'll share it. And I get messages back saying, is that your sister? Is that your sister? Is that your sister?
No.
And I'm like, no, it's not my sister. I have 2 older sisters, but Sarah's not my sister. But she has also been a really kind-hearted woman that has really blessed me with a different kind of friendship. And, you could tell on social media sometimes there's a lot of negative and there's a lot of fake, but there are some really, really amazing people that you meet and that that you may never really see them, but they're always going to be there. And honestly, Ashley and Sarah have really, over the course of the past few months, have been a real blessing. So those are the two women I'd like to fish with outside of my parents being a pair that I would love to be on the water with again.
Oh, absolutely. No, that makes a lot of sense. And, there's, in anything that you do, there's a certain less than genuine group or population, in any sort of, whether it be an industry or corner of any type of general interest, I guess. There's always going to be that negative, but there's the amount of real positive people that are out there, and I'm not saying that they outweigh the negative, but what the weight that they carry and what they can do for you is when you surround yourself with them is huge. It's really kind of surprising when you connect with just real quality people that are just stand-up folks. And that's the amazing part about social media. It's now it's where you said was it Sarah's in Colorado?
Yeah.
Totally different type of fishing that than we could ever kind of connect with here along the East Coast, a completely other different world, really. But there's this common ground, and you can just make these amazing connections. And I kind of owe it to Hooks at Hoodlums, for the saying, but it's all about family, family first, and family, like you said, it's not just blood, it goes beyond that. So that's amazing. This question is weird. I came up with this question a little while ago because I was curious to kind of dial into where people's heads were as they prepare and get ready to fish or while they're on the water. But most people when they're on their way to do any type of an activity, they're listening to something to kind of get hyped up. On the drive to the water, maybe you're listening to a specific artist or genre of music or something like that. Or even when you're on the water, I'm learning more and more that more people listen to music while they're fishing than I ever realized they did. I thought I was some kind of a weirdo for a while for that. But what is it that you listen to get hyped up? Be it either, music or a podcast or anything like that. What is it that kind of gets you going when you're, just before the sun comes up when you're going out to fish for the day?
So the crazy part about that is music is always in my ears. Yeah. Literally from when my feet hit to the ground until I have to start work. And then as soon as work is over, it's back in my ears. So I listen to whatever I'm feeling.
Yep.
I may listen to Alanis Morissette. She's my favorite artist. And then I may go to a little bit of a more relaxed, Colby Calais type style. And then there's these where I wake up and I'm like, oh my goodness, I just had such a good run. It's 3:30 in the morning and it's time to get there. So I'm listening to Seven Dust or Linkin Park. And usually before I go fishing, I'm running. So I'm listening to a playlist of sorts. And what usually happens to me when I'm doing that and I'm processing what I'm going to do when I hit the water, I'll hear a song and it'll just stick with me. And then on my way there, I will listen to that song over and over. And you could see back in my first few posts, most of the times I do put lyrics to a song. That meant something for what I was going through that maybe that week, that day, that morning. So normally it's something that hits me that I am personally trying to clear. Gotcha. And I use a lyric that will kind of lead me in that direction. So it's not necessarily always a specific genre.
Yeah.
It's more so, a thought that I think, oh my goodness, I remember that lyric. And I'll put the lyric in if I can't remember the song, and then I'll play the song and I'll be like, yep, that's it. And then I literally put that lyric to the photos of that day. And then there's times where I get out on the water and I just have sometimes I'll take my training for my marathon run and I'll put those songs on because that's hours of music. I'll hear a song and it'll bring me back to something that maybe happened in 1990. Yep. And I'll replay that moment over my head when I'm out on the water. And then you could feel that energy and you could see that through my pictures, and then I'll use it for that. So that's kind of my way. Normally it really comes from something that I just hear that clicks when I'm running, or something I think about that when I'm running prior to getting out on the water, that I pick a specific song for, and I kind of focus on that. And then it depends, like if it's like if I'm feeling like kind of anxious on the water a little bit, or like a little like antsy, I'll try to put something on that's going to kind of calm me down and put me back into the zone of being where I am for that moment. And then if there's times where I'm kind of feeling a little too relaxed and laid back, I may listen to something a little bit more aggressive to just kind of get me going again. But there's days I'm on the water where I want to listen to music, and then there's days where I'm on the water that maybe I was working all day and I'm out there at night and I was on the phone all day and everything, and I don't want to hear anything other than nothing.
Nature.
So I won't put the music on.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's funny because I know I've talked about this a lot before, but when I first started listening to music while fishing, it was just with earbuds. I would go out, and lots of times it would be because I work for myself, so I have to take phone calls when they come in, and while I might have the window of time to be able to go out and fish, especially like early in the spring, like during pre-spawn and during the spawn, I'll get out there at hours that are business hours, like times when I could take a phone call. I can remember actually fishing this one spot I like quite a bit, and I had a Skype scheduled with a company in England, and I was at the water talking, terms, getting into the business while I was fishing, actually catching fish and taking them off. And I was telling them as I was there, I was like, yeah, guys, I'm at the water right now. Like, it is what it is. And this company is very, very cool. But like it worked out, and I realized I should just listen to music while I'm there. And I kind of like that because I'm a DJ. I will oftentimes like use music to kind of like paint around the vibe of whatever's going on. Mm-hmm. And, this year I'll actually be buying a small, very small Bluetooth speaker for my kayak, because I realize that using headphones while I'm fishing is kind of a detriment. I feel like it's actually caused me to miss out on, opportunities when, missing a fish, busting, behind me or something because I can't hear it.
Yeah.
So I think this year I'm going to put like a small Bluetooth speaker in my boat just to kind of have on hand so I can throw some stuff on and sort of like, I use that to kind of like dial in a little bit. Sometimes I want to listen to like the Replacements because it's just fun and bouncy or something. Other times, I lots of times I listen to Action Bronson while I'm fishing. I don't know why. It's just something about Action Bronson.
Well,
you know
what? It's what you like, and it's what gets you in the mood. And I totally can relate with working and being on the water, because even though my job is like 6:30 to 4, it's a 24-hour
when the phone rings, you gotta take it.
Yeah, and I do answer my phone because I never know if any of the guys are actually in a real serious emergency and can't get in touch with anybody else. So I have a tendency to keep the earbuds in too, but I've learned usually that when I'm on the water, I only put one in.
Yeah,
so I always keep my right one in and leave my left one out. But that's not always the best either, because depending on the direction that you're standing, you can miss out on a lot too. And if I am fishing alone, I definitely don't like to have them both in, because that's a little bit dangerous too, because you just don't know what's going on around you.
You're right.
So the Bluetooth is definitely a good idea. I do have one of them myself, actually, and it's lasted all day long. I had a really small one, but the battery on that did not last very long, so I got myself a little bit. It's like 3 pounds. But that has gone all day long, from when I've gone out from like 6 in the morning until like 6 at night without any situation or problem with it shutting down on me.
Yeah, I think I just think for me it probably makes the most sense. And it was funny. It was actually delirious. We're on his boat. He has a little Bluetooth speaker, and we're fishing this one. And I had the most amazing day. Felt terrible because he did not have that day.
He probably used too much green pumpkin.
He doesn't. I don't think he throws. Well, he does throw a lot of stuff with green. But I know he does lean a lot toward like the bright colors, especially when it comes to moving baits, like crankbaits and stuff like that. He likes a lot of the bright stuff too. But we were having this one day, and we're talking. It was the first time we had fished together, first time we had met, and we're out fishing and having a great time. And we're fishing this little river system that goes off of this one pond, and we were just having this great day. And I put I must have put 3 17 plus inch fish in the boat, like within this one little section. I was just like, all right, this has to stop. I got to put the jig down. Like, you know, it's a bit too much. Cause I was always afraid, like, you know, you listen to music and it's like the vibration in the water or everything. Although they say the same thing about fish finders too. They're like, you know, the fish can hear that. They can hear the sonar, you know? So I'm like, I don't know. They can, I guess they can pick up the, you know, the waves in the water or something. But I mean, people still manage to catch fish. I don't know. Maybe
there's some people where I fish. I mean, the music is so loud, and that's the first thing I say. Because I say to myself, my gosh, like, I can't even imagine
level, you know?
what that's doing. But they're catching fish. You turn around and they're like catching fish. I'm like, maybe the fish like the music.
Maybe they're playing the right songs. Idea after all. You know, and they're just like,
might be.
These fish love Bruno Mars. Let's make this happen. I don't know.
It might be. And I have to say something. You said about throwing the jig. So all last season, all I wanted besides a 5-pound fish was to catch something on a jig. Yep. I threw every jig, every color. I tried to present it in every different way, different trailers, different weights, different everything.
Yep.
Nothing. Not one single fish. Not even a bite.
Yeah, it takes a while. Like, you just have to commit to throwing it. And then once it starts to, like, it won't get you a lot of bites. There is a saying, and they say that it won't get you a lot of bites, but the ones that it does get will be of quality. And I stand by that 100%. I mean, I've caught small fish on jigs, like it happens, but I've caught way more larger fish than I have small fish on jigs. And it's just, you just got to commit to it. I'll tell you, the tip for me was, and I forget what video it was, but somebody was telling me this saying, I saw a video and they were talking about follow with a jig. So if you're fishing, let's say you're doing a moving bait, you know, or you're fishing whatever you're comfortable in, and you miss a fish, grab a rod and throw a jig right after. And that change up in presentation, getting it to just, because it's like a jig is also one of those things. It will work year round. You got to change the way you fish with it.
Yeah.
But it will. It'll work. It'll work year round. And like, it's so funny. You were mentioning yellow perch. Biggest yellow perch I ever caught in my life was on a half-ounce black and blue bass jig. I could not believe it. Yes. Totally illegal fishing. Like, I was fishing in this one spot. I did not realize it was private property at the time. And I'm over, and there's just this huge grass bank, like real steep. And then there was all this riprap up against the water. So with all these rocks, I'm like, you know, I got this big-ass black and blue jig. I'm going to throw this thing. We'll see what happens. And it was just getting like bumped here and there. And I'm like, I can't get these fish to commit. Maybe I have to change it up. And I did. I switched things up and nothing. I went back to the jig. And then it was the only thing I was really getting real action on. And then I caught this monster yellow perch and it fought like a son of a bitch. Yeah. Like, holy crap.
I believe it.
I was like,
he was mad. He was like, wait a minute. What did I just put in my mouth?
I couldn't believe it. And it's one of those things where, like, you know, and that's sort of like, I guess that's my biggest goal is just to be as diverse a fisherman as I can be. You know, I want to be able to be comfortable and not be in a situation where I'm ever like, well, God, I don't, you know, they're biting on this. I don't know what to do with that. You know, like I want to kind of know it all and be like, you know, reasonable with, you know, whatever I'm throwing. So I will, I'll take a bait and just like, you know, look, this year for me, it's going to be the lipless crankbaits. That's going to be the bait that I'm going to marry it the whole, you know, I'm going to have one tied on constantly and I'm just going to do what I can to try to learn that as much as possible. And there's sometimes that it's not the best thing to throw, but those are the lessons too that you need to learn, you know?
I do. And I have a story about a perch with a lipless.
Oh,
so
okay.
I have not used a lipless, which I know I should be using, or any kind of crankbait because 2 years ago, I caught a perch. And this perch swallowed this lipless crankbait.
Oh, wow.
And I got so upset because I just knew what was coming.
Yeah.
And I know the nature of the beast. I understand that these things happen. And eventually maybe it would have gotten eaten by one of the pike in the water anyway. We don't know.
Yep.
But I felt so terrible. And I like literally broke down on the water crying because I was like, I cannot believe I just did this to this beautiful fish. Like I knew what was coming. It wasn't it didn't pass right then and there, but I had a bad feeling that eventually it would from how it literally inhaled this thing.
It just choked it, right?
Yeah. And from that point on, I have not used them.
Yep.
Because I'm so afraid of hurting that. And I understand it's part of the sport. I understand it's part of the thing, but
sure.
You know, I always catch and release. I've never kept anything. I don't keep anything. I don't want to ever keep anything. The amount of time and the years and all the fighting that those small fish have to do underwater to stay away. Like you said, your bass, right? The tail was bitten by probably an enormous pike.
Yep.
You know, that fish had to survive that. And I was so heartbroken, like so heartbroken, but I keep seeing people and everybody around me is always fishing with them and they're catching fish. And I'm just like, okay, Rachel, you have to get over yourself. Like you have to use this thing again.
Yep. I hear you though.
But I'm so afraid of doing that.
Yeah, I hear you. For a long time, I tried to really kind of just stay away from anything with treble hooks, mainly out of inconvenience for myself, like getting hung up on all kinds of stuff. You've got, 6 or 9 hook points that are now fully exposed to just flying around.
Yeah.
It's like, I have lost so many hard baits just because I wasn't really like utilizing them in the best possible way. With that said, too, like this is all like bank fishing primarily. In the kayak, I lose far fewer baits because I'm able to go and handle it, get over to where I need to. But it's interesting, and actually that was going to be my next question was, where are you on catch and release? Like I know there are anglers, and I like to tell people and be completely right up front, like there are no right answers. Like there's like, you make a good point about it being like the nature of the beast, but like the states have laid out quantities, what's legal for you to keep at a specific time for a reason, because like that harvesting does benefit the overall population. So if you're cool with, harvesting fish and eating them, make sure you're licensed and do it the right way. Don't be an asshole. That's what I try to tell people. Like if you're doing what's allowed in your state, then awesome. But I am always curious, like where people are with catch and release. Have you always been catch and release? Like
so when I was a little girl,
yep.
My dad used to take the panfish. My dad, we would bring them home. My dad would clean them. And I remember one time, my mom would cook them. And I remember one time that the one was a female and she was pregnant. And I remember my dad doing it and he didn't want to tell me what it was because he knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And I said, you just need to tell me, Daddy. I was like, is that like all eggs? And of course I started crying. Because that's what I have a tendency to do. I get pretty emotional with a lot of things.
Sure.
And it was, so like we did do that. I only caught that one bass when I was a little girl. Yeah. So we never caught anything other than that and never outside of what we should, so to speak.
Yeah.
But me now personally, I'm catch and release.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own, ways, their own wants. Like you said, there are certain things, sometimes something can become overpopulated and cause a problem too. But for me in my heart, I just need to let them go. If you look, you'll see I hug my fish. I kiss my fish.
Yep.
I don't want to let them go, but I always let them go.
Oh yeah.
Even the little ones, the feisty ones, like I'm like, okay, like Mama's going to be pissed. You got out today.
Yeah, exactly.
And the bigger ones, like I always want them to go home to little ones because I know that they're there and I know that they're waiting.
Yeah.
And sometimes I even try to think to myself, like when I release them, like if we're further away, like I hope they get back to like their friends and where they are. I get a little too emotional in that sense with it. So I am always catch and release.
Yeah.
I don't have the need or feel the need to keep anything other than like letting it go and letting it grow. Because again, it takes so much time, for them to get where they are.
No, I agree. It's funny. Like I have a, there's this one podcast that I really, really like to listen to. It's called Tackle Talk. I should get a cut from Andrew. I plug his show so many times. I really should. So Andrew Hayes, if you're listening to me, man, Venmo me. There is a guest that he's had on a couple of times now. His name is Shan O'Gorman, and he's an aquatic biologist. Actually, I would recommend, I'll even share you the links to the episodes that he's been on. Like, he gets into the science and is somebody with a marine biology background. You might find this tremendously interesting. But Shan deals a lot with like pond management. Like people will bring him into private ponds and like he'll break down a population of fish, and you really sort of learn like what can live in this one area. And what he even said in one of these, I think, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I'll send you the episode so you can get it directly from him. But he says in there something to the effect of, if you gut hook a fish badly, even a largemouth, like if you gut hook it badly, take it home. If you can use it, use it. Or if, you know what I mean? If you release it and it's been gut hooked that badly where it's bleeding like crazy, it's probably not going to make it, you know? And It's like nature will take its course and something out there will make use of that fish. Like it's probably not going to go belly up and just float to the bank. That's more of a rarity, but you know, it's like I have had, you know, situations before where I have gut hooked and I have learned some tricks. And if I can find a way where it happens and I'm able to record it without using any special tools, I'll record it and post it, because I have gotten hooks out of gut hooked fish before with nothing more than my regular pliers. And I've got really small, dainty fingers. So I'm able to kind of get in and grab that hook and flip it out, you know, with very, very little problem. So it works out really, really well. But like he made this point, I'm like, that's a really great idea, you know. And my biggest thing is I don't harvest many fish unless they're stocked, only because our water up here is just, it's not as clean as you wish it was, you know. Like it's there's a lot of factory runoff in our river systems and things like that. So I try to stay away from it. But that's, you know, again, that's just me. There are some people that are just like, you know, my family's been eating the fish out of this river for however long. It's not a problem. You know, I'm okay with it, you know, and then they wave with their third arm or whatever.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing here. Like the Passaic River, like they've dredged it and they found PCBs, which I mean are all over as it is anyway. So
PCBs are
there
crazy.
are people that take it and eat it and do whatever they want with it. That's fine. Have at it.
It's more of a personal thing, I think. You know, if whatever you're comfortable with, like that's why I try to like blanket that with like there's no right or wrong answer, because everybody's going to have their own thing. Some people just don't like the taste of fish, you know? Yeah. And I get that.
Yeah. I mean, I love totally seafood. Cool. I do love seafood, but I try to justify anytime that I do have it, it's probably in like an aquaculture situation and it's farm grown, so farm raised, and I'm good to go because that's what they're there for. You know, I try not to think too much about that, but I mean, to each his own. If somebody wants to keep it, that's fine. It's just in my heart now. I just, I let them go. That's all. Because I feel blessed that they let me catch them for the moment that they did. And
but in
I got it. You know, that's exhausting for them. Them, you know, you reeling them in and them fighting against you is literally like equating to a person running a marathon. I mean, it's exhausting for them, you know. And then when I see people just like toss the fish in the water, like, no offense if you do that. No offense to anybody that's listening that does that.
Yeah.
I like get so upset with anybody that I'm fishing with that does that. I'm like, do you realize like what that fish just went through? Like, I understand that that's like whatever, but like to you, but to them, like that's exhausting.
Yeah.
Like they're tired. Like think of what they just did against the water. You know what I'm saying? It's just, and like, that's why I said to you, sometimes maybe that's why it's not always so good that I have my degree in marine biology, because I don't really use it, but there's certain things that I've learned that
definitely you have some insight.
I kind of take into account. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. You're absolutely right. Well, this is what I usually. I think it was Shan that had mentioned this. He goes, "Well, you go ahead and fight for your life for 10 minutes or 5 minutes or however long. Have somebody grab you by the jaw, put a plastic bag over your head, and then just throw you in the water." You know, it's kind of like you got to kind of put it in a reference. Like some of these fish that you're catching. Yeah, you catch a 3-pound bass. I am 100 times larger than a 3-pound bass.
Yeah,
that's frightening. You know what I mean? It's like it is. It's I get it. I definitely get it. But all right. So,
but again, that's like to each his own, right?
Yeah,
so like they get mad at me and they'll be like, "Really? I'll do whatever I want." And I'm like, "You're right. I'll stay out of it because I'm not going to get into an argument with somebody over it." It's just one of those things. Like, take a minute and think about it. You know, it's insane. It's like a bear attacking us. If you think, well, depending on how big somebody is, it's like a bear attacking me though and coming after me. Like, that's going to be, that's one heck of a fight that I'm going to have to put up. So just give them love. And that's what I try to do.
Yeah. Now, have you done any traveling specifically with the goal of fishing?
No, the only time I've actually fished out of state was in Florida. My son and I were in Disney in 2019.
Oh, okay.
And we went on a half day fishing trip down there, which was very, very nice. But I'm hoping that because last year COVID basically kind of shut everything down, and unfortunately, however you want to look at it, the position I'm in at work, I would have to quarantine for 2 weeks, and I'm not going to do that to my coworkers or the other people that I work directly or indirectly with, just for something. So I'm hoping that things can change and will change, and we could travel to other places. But unfortunately, at this time, I can't go anywhere right now because of that.
Yeah,
I have intentions of going places, but the quarantine and restrictions is really what that will depend on.
I am really hoping we're going to see an end to that soon, just so that, a lot of this travel can actually happen. I want to get down to Louisiana and fish. I want to get down into Florida and fish. There's other parts of like the Midwest I want to go fish. And you're right, like just the having to shack up and quarantine, it makes things a whole lot more difficult than just like booking a flight and going and doing it. Plus, I get it. So with all that said, though, is there a bucket list like body of water or bucket list place where you would like to fish someday?
I want to go to Hawaii and fish with Jurassic bass, Captain Harvey.
Okay, cool.
And catch a peacock bass. That is like my dream.
Yeah.
It has always been my dream to actually go there. I actually wanted to go to Hawaii Pacific for marine bio. But things that were going on in my life at the time, I couldn't, have that situation, which is fine. So I say to myself that I do have to get there, and I've met him and have befriended him, and am hoping to one day get out on the water with him over there and catch a peacock. I know I could go to Florida and catch them.
Yeah, but there's something about gutting out in that.
But there's
that
something about catching one of those in Hawaii that
yeah, you're right.
It's kind of in my heart,
Florida
that's for
ain't
sure.
Hawaii, that's for damn sure.
Yes.
That's true.
Yes.
Now let's go. We're going to get a little bit more into gear here. Now, when you're going out for a day, generally speaking, what is your typical rod and reel combo arsenal look like, and what are you tying on?
So I have the Lew's Mach 2.
Yep.
I actually have two of those spinners, and one of them is always set up with the Ned rig, like I was explaining before, with the owner and the Z-Man. You say TRD, I say turd, whatever is easier, right? Whatever works.
Exactly.
I have that set up, and that I do. That is one thing that I do change the color. PB&J is probably my favorite. But this season I noticed a lot. The black and blue flake was like on fire with every species of fish out there with that. So that I always have on. I also started using the Texas rig.
Okay.
So I have been using the BioSpawn Exo Ribbon
Love
worm.
That worm.
And
Great worm.
It's amazing. It's blue. I use the blue one. It's the dark blue, and then it has a light blue tail.
Uh-huh.
That has caught me amazing fish. And I use that with a red wide gap hook. It has to be red. I don't know why. It's just one of those things.
Yeah.
So I do always have that set up. And then last year I started trying to do the drop shot again. So I would have one set up for that. And then I would have one set up with just the Senko. So I'd always have four of those. And then my casting was primarily the jig, because it was one of those things where I really wanted to try. But now that I have the two casting, I will definitely keep one with a jig, because I am going to work on that this season for sure.
Oh yeah.
And then the other with the swim bait, the Aaron's bait swag. Like I am determined to catch something on that color. And again, just because it's the color that just draws so much attention to me. So I'm really looking to get into bait casting using those two different techniques and really trying to target
Definitely
them and learn them, you know. And I know like they'll say like try to use one thing, but I kind of want to use the two of them because like you said previously, like you know, one thing may not be working that day.
Yeah.
So I want to be able to have both of those options ready for me with the other 4 setups. So I usually bring 5 rods with me, and now I have 6, which I think my kayak will hold 6, which is probably a little way too much for kayak fishing, but that's a whole new thing that I have to try to learn how to downsize, so to speak, with everything that I'm doing. So we'll see which ones I bring with me when I go on that, but when I'm out with others, that's usually what I'm always bringing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You know, and it's true. Like fishing rods are kind of like golf clubs. You know, they do specific jobs. And let's be honest, if you're fishing and something happens or you want to, you know, just change up things quickly instead of retying, because I did that for so many years. I would just constantly retie everything. Like, oh, we're going, you know, we're switching from top water. Got to cut this leader off now, and you know, I mean, it's just a challenge. While it's nice to be, you know, everything streamlined, until you find what's working. You know, for where you are, you're kind of at the mercy of how quickly you can tie your knots and make decisions on what you're changing to, versus having, you know, different combos that are set up to work for different presentations. You can cut a lot of that out. So, 5. What did you say? You have 6 now?
I was, now I have 6. Don't tell anybody I fish with. Let's keep that.
Yeah,
okay?
I think because that's about where I am now this year for what I'm looking at. I've got 4 casting combos and 2 spinning combos.
So we have the opposite. You and I have the 4 spinning and 2 casting.
And which
I actually do have the other spinning set up for frogging, but you know, that's it's very specific, and I'll see. I might do it, but right now it's not.
Yeah.
It just wasn't. It wasn't everything for me. It was exciting to catch it, but it wasn't something that was like, wow, I can't wait to get back at that again. You know, it was kind of one of those, like when I take my son with me, Ma, we caught 1 fish. Can I go home now? You know, that was kind of like that kind of moment for me. So we'll see.
It's so funny because last year was the year I decided I was going to put some serious time into the topwater frog. And I finally built a combo that lent itself to that style of fishing that really worked for it. And I had success on it. I did what I wanted. And it's so weird. There are so many fishermen that say, oh, if I have to, you know, only choose one presentation, I'm going to throw a topwater frog. Like they have to, like they love, like something about catching a fish that way. And for me, it doesn't work that way, you know, and I think that's okay. You know, it's not necessarily for everybody. I do feel much better about where, you know, there's some bodies of water I'll go to and it's just choked up with lily pads everywhere. You're not throwing anything except a top water frog, you know, and on those days I get that, but you know, it's not something that I necessarily run out with the intention to do. Now that I've got a little bit of like proficiency and I've caught probably 6 or so fish on a top water frog, and I kind of, you know, consistently, I feel pretty good, you know?
Yeah.
Let's talk. This is probably one of my favorite questions. And it's a little on a technical side, and it is a gear question. But there's this scenario that Sean and I had come up with. And so this is sort of the way that it goes. There's let's say you have the official Jigs and Bigs corporate card, okay? And you can build whatever combo you want for this little challenge. But the challenge is that you go out to an unnamed pond, and the only thing you know in advance is that it's kind of got a little bit of everything. Some rocks, some grass, there's some submerged timber, there are some lily pads tucked in the back. You've got a creek feeding it from one end, and then, you know, maybe there's a dam. The weather is kind of like partly cloudy, you know, with a slight breeze. You can build or use a combo of your you know, that you currently have if you want, but you're only allowed to take 1 rod, 1 reel. And then what are you going to spool that up with to throw?
I would definitely take my Lose Mock too. Yep. Because I do have 2 of them. After I bought the first one and started using it, there was something about it that really stuck with me and connected with me.
Yep.
And I actually would use 12-pound mono.
Okay.
And if I could only use one thing, that's it, right? You're saying 1 lure, 1 setup, that's it. Nothing else with me. It would be that owner blockhead offset with with the Z-Man.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. Because I've used that in everything.
Yeah.
Doesn't always work in everything, but
Sure.
I've used it in everything. So if that was all I could have, that's what it would be.
Yep. No, that makes sense. I have that Lose Mach 2, that Lose Mach 2 spinning reel. I love that reel. Joe over at Old Glory Outdoors had suggested, because I was looking to add another spinning combo. I started with a 7-foot medium, and I was using an Abu Garcia. I think it was actually a Black Max spinning combo, spinning reel, and it was great. It's on a Vengeance rod. And it works pretty well. I mean, I throw drop shots on that and, weightless stuff, and it worked great. And then I came into another one of the exact same rods, but a medium heavy, 7-foot medium heavy. And I decided essentially what I wanted to do is throw a reel on there where I could put 30-pound braid and then just tie whatever I needed for a leader. And I can throw on that spinning combo. Like I said, I've got 4 bait casters. No, I've got 5 now in total. And, enough on a bunch of other parts I could put other combos together for other things. But what I'm using right now, I've got 4 that are in the mix. And I would, if I had to do this challenge, I would take that 7-foot medium heavy spinning combo, because I can do almost anything. I can't throw the 190 Whopper Plopper on it. I can't throw the BBZ Rat 40. I can't throw the huge swim baits on it. It's just those are too large of baits. But everything else that I carry, I can get by with, I can tie a mono leader and I could throw, a Zara spook. I can tie, I could frog with it if I had to, probably not super effectively. I can throw poppers on it with no problem. So it's like, I love when I hear that answer when somebody says that they take a spinning combo, because I'm like, yes, I'm not the only one,
Yeah, I would definitely, even using the bait caster, like I've caught fish on, it's just not the same. I don't know what it is. I do have my second one actually, which is an Abu Garcia that I got for Christmas this year. I haven't used it yet, but there's just something about that spinning rod. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the simplicity, if it's just the, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just it's a good feeling, flipping the bail over and all that kind of stuff. There's just so much about it that I love, and that's definitely what I would bring.
It's all about, I'll tell you, if I have one pet peeve about like the fishing community, and I'll see this all the time, like Facebook groups, people will say, well, what do you prefer, spinning or bait casting? And I always say like that old El Paso taco shell commercial. Why not both? I'm like, really? Like, they both have their role to play, and they both, like, I wouldn't ever throw a Ned, really, for as light as they are, on any of the bait casters I have. I just wouldn't. Or a weightless Senko or something like that. But I have power shotted with a bait caster and had great results with it. I have power shotted with them when I needed to. Much in the same token, like, I'm also not going to I wouldn't throw a topwater frog and expect great results on any of my spinning stuff.
Right.
It's just, but that's just me. It's like they kind of go together. And that's why for me, I used to have a real hard time. Like, what rod would I bring? And now that I've got kind of the combo, I'm like, that would be definitely one of them that I would take.
Yeah, it's nice when you have what you're comfortable with. That's all that matters, right? It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks or says, and even with whatever style fishing you choose to do, like you were saying before with frogging and such. Like, some people like love it, but if it's not for you, then hey, it's not for you. God bless anybody that loves doing it or whatever they get out from doing it. But I'm not getting the same thing, so I'm not going to keep trying to try it and not get what I want out of fishing.
Yeah. It is absolutely true. I cannot believe this conversation went like so fast, but we have been talking for an hour and a half, Rachel. Can you believe it?
Yeah, because I could talk. But I didn't realize it was that long, actually, to be honest with you.
We've been talking for 15 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, this is just
definitely agree.
So natural.
I definitely agree, yes.
Okay, good. I'm glad it's
I
not
didn't
just
realize
me.
the time.
But the good news is that is all of our questions. So now you've got a good opportunity to go ahead and let all the listeners know where they can connect with you on social media. If they want to check out some of your pictures, if you're doing anything with YouTube or have something going, go ahead and promote whatever you have happening. It's your opportunity.
So anybody that's listening, I would love for you to come follow me, RJW_my marineworld. I'm on there. That's it for now. No YouTube, no nothing. I fish because I love to fish and I don't want it to become work or a job. I do love meeting people, seeing people, sharing their stories with them. And I hope everybody can see what fishing does for me through my photos, through the lyrics that I choose to write on there. If one song helps you get through a day or anything, or a moment that you're feeling in time, that is really what I'm there for, is to try to make the world a better place and be happy, and love fishing, and just be there for each other, to learn things from each other and help each other and develop each other and support each other, most importantly, out of all of this that's going on. That's really all I could say and wish for and hope for, that people come together in a community. And as we said before, and as you had opened this up with Hooks at Hoodlums and me being a part of the family, I want to honestly thank them for letting me in, for meeting people like you through them and other people that I have met. It's been overwhelming and incredible and exciting and humbling. And I appreciate every aspect of everything that has been going on. And I cannot wait to meet more people.
Yep.
And honestly, the biggest thing is I cannot wait to outfish all you boys.
Remember that, everybody.
I wanted to see if you were still listening to me.
Because they're all listening. Every one of them's listening. Bill, Andrew, Ken, Delirious, Joel. I mean, everybody. I'm in
big trouble now.
No, this is going to be
I love
awesome.
You all for sure.
We're going to have a good time. We're going to have a great time. We're going to have some information coming up with, the fishing challenges, especially for any of the Hooks at Hoodlums pro staff that are local. Now with such a large group, we're actually working on a Hooks at Hoodlums pro staffers game show, like a fishing trivia game show episode. And it's such a huge group of people. This might be something that we have to do in batches, get different, groups of pro staffers together to go for it. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Rachel, this was awesome. I'm so glad we got to have you on. I appreciate what you're doing out there. You're definitely, and we're huge supporters of Lady Angler Nation. It means the world to us that there are more and more women getting comfortable with the outdoors and embracing their abilities and being one with nature. You know what I mean? It's you're doing a great thing out there. I really appreciate you. You have yourself a wonderful weekend. We will see you soon. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. You take care now, and we'll be in touch.
Okay. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. You see, I knew this episode was going to be everything that I was hoping it was going to be, and in a lot of cases, it's going to be that much more. Sean, what are your thoughts on this sort of breaking the fourth wall in a way and having our jig heads be able to engage with us as we record these segments?
This is fun. I think it led us in a couple different directions. And, look at as we're speaking, we're getting compliments.
This is great. Rodney says, Bobby and Sean, I absolutely love the new platform idea. Look forward to many weeks to come. Time for us to hit the road for the day, but keep it up, guys. Adios. Rodney, you guys have a great one. Enjoy your Sunday activities and have fun with the Super Bowl, man. Enjoy.
Yeah. Eat some food.
Yeah, eat some food. Oh,
Nick also likes it. So I think this is fun. This is new. I just want to make sure that you and I are continuing to bring the top-notch product that we bring to the table without any, speed bumps in flow, shall we say. But I think
absolutely.
I think that if there were any speed bumps today, I think we'll probably be working through them and we'll get a handle on this. This is new for us too,
Yep, absolutely.
So
actually, Nick brings up a really good point. He comments and says, guess I got to wake up earlier on Sunday now. Not necessarily, Nick, because especially right now, generally we used to record on Monday mornings just to try to keep it as close to the release date as possible. But now that I've got a change in my scheduling for guests, we don't really have to worry about getting that interview set by the weekend and having it in place. Now I'm good for weeks in advance with guests as far as getting them on the show for interviews. So we have a lot more freedom here, and it works out. It happens to work out really, really well because, Sean's got a crazy schedule with his school program. Plus he's got, physical therapy and stuff to work in. So between scheduling between those, this is going to bounce around a little bit. And it's all good. We're going to go and, and just kind of play it by ear and see what happens. So there will be some of these that'll be later on in the evening. There will be some of these that'll be on weekdays. Some of these that'll be like prime time, like Saturday night ones, or something along like that. I appreciate that, Rodney, keeping the numbers up. That's good. I think, in my opinion, I think that over time, once we kind of sample what some of the windows are like, we'll probably find that we end up with a brand new schedule. So don't worry about it being this time, because it probably isn't going to stay at this time all the time.
Yeah, this one, I think, one other for the next couple of weeks. I have physical therapy. Usually, Bobby, you and I have been really good about recording on Monday mornings.
Yep.
And I had to change that because physical therapy scheduled me during Monday morning. So I don't really have a choice in the schedule. So what am I going to do? And I'm trying to just keep my knees, out as pain-free as possible, because my next step is full knee replacement. So I'm like fucked.
Yeah.
So
it's important.
I got to do this.
You gotta stay on it. We have, the other thing too is that once we get open water, Sundays become a big fishing day, especially for me. Those are days that I'm going to try to get out and be on the water as much as possible, especially with my trivia schedule being what it is. Jerry jumps in, says he enjoyed this morning's broadcast. Great jobs, and interesting and informative. Thank you, Jerry. I appreciate that, man. And that's great, because Jerry's a new jig head. He just joined this last week. So let's go ahead and make a quick mention that if you're interested in joining as a jig head, becoming a resident jig head, and following along, joining our Patreon. That's really all you got to do. We have 100 slots right now that are open that you can go ahead and sign up for. All you got to do is go to jigsandbigs.com, and there's a button there that says become a patron, and it will bring you right over to our Patreon page. If you do have any difficulty, shoot us a DM, shoot us an email, contact us. We'll get you all set. But those 100 slots are locked in. It's only $5 a month, and that'll get you all the bonus content that we put over there. There's a few things that are already existing, but it's going to give you access to these as a regular ongoing thing. There may be some extra content that shows up here down the road. We might do some best ofs and things like that. That'll keep things kind of fun and interesting. But that's the idea. We want to keep this kind of going there. So if you're interested in doing it, check it out. You can unsubscribe anytime you want. The one thing to note is that 100 slots for the $5 early adopters. That's what we're calling them. Once those 100 are full, anybody who subscribes afterwards, the price will go up. There's other slots that will be available there. So definitely go and check it out. It's a great way to help support the show and support us, being able to do some of this stuff. Also, we've got plans for the future that involve, specialty giveaways and prizes and things like that to kind of engage some people over at the Patreon. So check it out. Become a jig head. Off my soapbox.
Yeah, well, let me get on mine. I have a suggestion for our listeners that I think would be very, very interesting, and I think would generate some really nice feedback and possibly some content.
Okay.
So you and I through different channels, we get messages from people like, hey, when you want to go out and fish, this and that. And I know there's a couple people that I've talked to that I'll probably be, listeners that I'm probably going to get out and fish with this year. I might recommend whoever's, going to fish with me, fish with Bobby as well.
Yeah.
Because the difference in the experience. So Bobby's laid back. You're going to have a great time. Even if it's nibblers, dude, it's a great time.
Yep.
Going out with me is like, okay, let's fucking shred this place and see what's in it, right?
It's true. He's not lying.
If you have energy drinks or soda or coffee, bring them. If you're into cocaine, you might want to do that. I don't. I'm good with it. Just whatever you need to keep up is what I'm saying. So...
And now he's going to be in a pedal kayak, so keep up is the operative term.
Yep.
I can only imagine. Like when we go out and we're paddling, I'm out there, and I know Sean's just like, oh, this is nice and easy. It's no problem. I'm like, what about this spot? This looks good.
Yeah. And you're like, hey, man, I got this idea for the podcast. I'm like, shut up. I'm reading the fucking water. So I want to hear the difference in experience where someone comes in and goes, well, I fished with Bobby 2 weeks ago. It was very relaxing. The birds were chirping. It was a beautiful day.
Sean took me out.
Yeah, she had a lot of laughs. Sean took me out on a hurricane. All we hit was 3 or 4 or 5 pounders. We only caught 2 of them. And then we ate like pigs on the way back or something.
Yep.
I want to see that difference. I want to hear the experience. So I know there's a couple people I have lined up to fish with. Maybe I'll direct them your way to,
do a follow-up. That's what we should do. We should come up with a short list and then swap. And then
yeah.
Oh man.
I know like Delirious is probably going to get the the tag team treatment because honestly, he's less interested in fishing with us than he is getting to that fucking creepy spot where there's Sasquatches and ghouls.
Exactly.
So, he's going to get that experience, and he's not going to give a shit about us. He's going to be up running around in the woods, making squatch calls, knocks, all that shit.
Oh, speaking of delirious, in the mail yesterday, I received an envelope. Yes, and I have brand new Delirious Anglers stickers for the two of us.
Awesome.
Very, very, very good stuff. I also received an envelope from Largemouth Sass. I have a couple of stickers there too. So yeah, we'll get those doled out. Awesome. Like, this is great. I love how this is working. I love the engagement. I think this is absolutely fantastic. Guys, I am going to be downloading the video component for this, and what I'll do is kind of trim up the ends a little bit and then repost it in the Patreon. So if any of our jig heads did not get to see this as it happened live, and they want the unedited and they want to see the video and all of that stuff and look at our beautiful faces, you can do so. You'll be able to see that. It'll be an additional post once I get the video all set, but it'll be interesting, man. I'm excited.
Our faces and Leo the Lab's face.
Yeah, that's I almost brought Ellie on, not Ellie, not Elise. My puppy, my newest puppy, Eleanor. I almost brought her on. I might. I usually don't bring them into the disco dungeon necessarily, but we'll see. We'll see. She's adorable. She'll probably end up just sleeping if I hold her. That's what I'm hoping. But
Bobby, it's amazing. We're going to see our listenership jump astronomically because we're doing dog cameos. People love dogs, man.
Oh, yeah, they do. Actually, you bring up a really good point. People do love dogs, and I love my dogs. I have 2 Boston Terriers. I've got Hudson, and I've got... I've got Hudson, and I've got Eleanor. Hudson is 3, and he's like a 27-pound Boston Terrier. Gorgeous coat on this dog. He's a beautiful dog. I really want to bring my dogs in the kayak with me when I fish. I really want to be that guy, and I'm thinking that, my kayak is, my Ascend is large enough to be able to do it. But if any of our listeners out there do that and they have PFDs for their pets and can make a recommendation, because they're dumb as shit. You know what I mean? They're Bostons. They're stupid. And I want to make sure that they're going to be all right. The nice thing is that they're small, and if they did happen to jump in, I could probably just net them and bring them right up. So that wouldn't be an issue. But I do want to get them in a PFD so that they're safe and everything. I have seen some PFDs where you'll put them on the dog, and that dog just freezes. Lock-legged, Yep. They're not going anywhere. That's not terrible. The other question I have for anybody who's taken their dogs out on a boat, what do you do for sun protection?
Ooh.
That's what I'm really curious about.
And you know what? Another issue that I would think of is probably the most paramount, because dogs are animals. They should be able to swim.
Yeah.
And you can, like you said, net yours.
I can net mine, yeah.
I think my biggest concern would be hooks, because I've brought Leo in an Ascend, the same one you have.
Yep.
And I only brought him for paddles. I wouldn't bring him fishing because no, he'll take a hook.
You know what? I mean? It's funny you say that, because who was it? I think it was Milliken.
Yep.
I think it was Ben Milliken. Hooked his, I think he's got a golden retriever, if I'm not mistaken. I think his dog's a golden retriever. And I think last spring or last summer, he buried, it was either last spring or last summer, and he buried a crankbait in that dog's leg.
Oh.
Yeah. And
that's
I mean,
awful.
Yeah, it was whatever the video was, like he left it in there and he owned it. Like like you could tell he felt terrible, and he did everything he could to get that hook out. But and that's exactly it. Like I've seen plenty of people out fishing with their dogs. Mikey Balls, John B. A lot of YouTubers will take their dogs out fishing with them. I haven't seen Weston Smith take his dogs out. I haven't seen Becca take her dog out either. But this Cody jumping in with the commentary. Oh, what did he say? Cocaine.
I love how it smells.
I hate that shit, but I love how it smells. Does smell great. I will say, so that's all been a big thing for me. I'd love to bring the dogs out there. And I thought about it. I was like, God, I'd really, I'd feel terrible. Now I got two. So how do I choose? And I'm like, I obviously am going to take Hudson. He's older, and then Ellie's so small and just so derpy. Like, I just know she would walk right off the freaking, especially the ascend, because there's like no real lip there to like hold her in.
Just make sure you don't take her to a lake with pike in it.
Yeah. That's another, or snapping turtles. Like, come on. I don't like falling into that water.
I don't think the snapping turtles would be too dangerous. I think it would be the pike. Snapping turtles will run. They'll be out of there. They know.
Yeah, I'd hope so. So yeah, this is great. We'll see what the feedback is. If you guys have any kind of suggestions on, taking care of your dogs when you're out on the kayak or on the boat, like what do you do? And I wouldn't worry so much about hooking my dogs. I can hardly catch fish. Catch a dog, I don't think. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I know, but I mean, let's say you get a snag, you pull it back, it comes whistling back. That dog ain't gonna know the duck you are.
True.
Thought.
It's funny you say that. I was out fishing with one of our first listeners, Eric Dowd. Last summer, we were at a small pond. We're at Peppermill Pond, not too far from Quabbin. And we're just, flipping jigs around some down trees, bank fishing, having a great time. And he got hung up on something. Half-ounce jig comes back, and yours truly, the tubby SOB himself, did this Brandon Lee back bend to miss this jig. I turned around, and it was like slow-mo. I could see it coming at me, and I just like bent off to the side and leaned back, and it went flying right over my head. I couldn't believe it. Like, it would have been bad. It would have destroyed some sunglasses and taken out an eye. It was flying.
That sucks. Well, I'm glad it missed.
Yeah. Oh, me too. Yeah. It was fantastic. Oh, all right. Let's go ahead and just wrap this sucker up, man. I think we're pretty good to go. We got ourselves a great show. Thank you guys for listening. We have the best listeners of any podcast out there. I mean, I'll go, toe to toe and say that up against any podcast. Our listeners are amazing, and thank you guys so much. Of course, if you have a moment, you like the show, tell a friend. Share it with your friend. If you really like the show, take some time and give us a review over at either Stitcher or over Apple Podcasts. Make sure also you guys can subscribe and follow on Spotify. There's a lot of people that do listen on Spotify. It's probably the number 2 platform that people listen to us on. Is Spotify, and if you subscribe there, you will get notifications about things that are popping up. This spring is going to see a whole lot more for new episodes. It's going to see a breakdown, a run-through of what's been going on tournament-wise. You're going to be getting episodes of the shit show that will be showing up, and then you're also going to be getting like little bonuses here and there. I've been doing the breakfast with Bobby's. There may be some like variations of that coming in between, just little bridges to throw out there. So go ahead and get it all together. Oh, nice. Cody is following you on the gram. Bring my red heeler in the canoe all the time. Well, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to get, my dog in the yak, having fun, like enjoying, some of these adventures on the water. I think it'd be fantastic. And like Boston's, the reason why we chose Boston Terriers is they kind of match our lifestyle. They don't need a whole lot for like, engagement as far as exercise. They get like 2 or 3 pops, 20, 30 minutes a day of like boisterous activity. They get out of their system. They're like me. They like to just be pretty lethargic, for the most part. So
nice.
Good stuff. Good stuff, guys.
This was an interesting one, man.
Yeah, it definitely was. So yeah, I'll have information posted on the Patreon for all of our jig heads to find out when the next episode is, when we're going to be doing one of these recordings. This will obviously drop on Tuesday. Thanks so much, everybody, for coming out and being part of this. We appreciate you more than you know. And the giveaway is coming up very soon this month. We've got a great one for you. Got some great prizes. We're giving away an Amazon Echo. An Echo Dot, very, very cool. And we have a box of baits from our good friends over at Dark Horse Tackle to boot. So we got good stuff coming up, and all that, and so much more. Guys, have yourself a great one. Take care of yourself. We'll see you in 7 days. Tight lines.